Star Wars Explain. The Acolyte's out. We're gonna talk about the Acolyte, and it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun, and it's gonna be Alex and Molly. Boop, 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 boop.
Boop, 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 boop. I like that end. What's up,
I love our
everyone?
theme song.
The Acolyte is out, so it's time for The Acolyte's Out. Or I guess it's just Acolyte's Out. I don't even know the name of our own show. But
It's up
we're going to
there.
be talking about this absolute bloodbath of an episode. But, you know, as our mod in chat said, it's always an honor to watch someone transform into the Force. And we got to watch it happen like 6 times, which was shocking. It was crazy. It was a wild episode. I don't know if I'm ready, but
this is our group therapy time for everybody.
I was gonna real quick bring up Gary24 fan said, "Now I'm officially sad. R.I.P. Jackie, Yord, and all our other brave Jedi." Thanks for that super chat, Gary fan. A lot of people just trying to cope with what happened, and we're all gonna cope together. It's not just the two of us. Please welcome to the show. Joining us tonight is Mac and Alex from Children of the Watch. Welcome.
Hello.
What's up? So
Hello,
happy to
hello.
be here. Thanks for having us.
Ooh,
We're
let's get
excited to
through
have
this
you.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Take a
like you
deep breath.
said, group therapy. I'm still needing to decompress, to unpack everything we saw last night.
I was telling you before the show, but I wanted to say it here that I was really happy to have you on for this show, and especially for this episode, because y'all tend to go deeper into like theory crafting than I do. I'm very reserved with my theories, and I think you bring up a lot of not like out of left field thoughts, but things I hadn't considered that I'm like, oh, okay. You have a whole different perspective that I like listening to.
Yeah, I think that's like one of our favorite things to do is to speculate. Like we do it with open hands. We try to be very responsible about not getting too attached to any one thing or anything like that. But that is a lot of the fun we like to have on our show. Is just kind of letting our imaginations run wild. Because I don't know, Star Wars captures my imagination so much.
Yeah, if there's a rabbit to chase, we end up chasing it, and usually to wherever it leads. So it's a lot of fun, and then a lot of times we have fantastic voicemails where people call in with their thoughts and theories on what they think is going on too. And I think it just kind of adds to that. It's just, and this is honestly the perfect show to just throw out theories and speculate on what if it's this or that. And I think there's a lot of things in this episode in particular that, sure, there was really cool action, but there were some things that were said, especially by the Darth Teeth, Smilo Ren, the Sith Who Laughs, whatever you want to call him, that I feel like we just got to work through tonight. So I'm excited to talk to you guys.
Yeah, I like what you said about, it on the surface, it feels like, oh, it's just a lot of action. When we finished the episode, I was like, I don't think I'm going to be up very late writing because it was mostly action. Really fun episode, great episode, but I was like, I don't know that there's going to be that much to talk about. And then rewatching it and writing, I was like, oh God, I can't stop writing. Like there was a ton to talk about.
Yep.
I just said good night, goodbye.
Yeah, he's like, all right, well that was great. I'll see you in the morning.
Well, I was also like, man, how am I gonna sleep after that? I was on my phone for like a solid hour, just kind of like joy scrolling, seeing everybody's responses to the episode, and then I was like, all right, I seriously have to go to sleep now.
Yeah. Our Discord was going absolutely crazy for
several hours.
Yeah, it was
several hours.
It was fun. People were coming unhinged a little bit. It was fun.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to dive into the episode. We'll just kind of go from top to bottom and talk about all of it real quick before we do. This is insanely generous, but Patrick Foley, thank you so much for the super chat. Greetings from Glacier NP. I download your casts and listen after the new episodes. Because of my lack of signal, this is my only chat for the summer. What's your favorite NP locale for Star Wars? Mine is the Redwoods. Thanks for being a positive force. May the force be with you. This show slaps.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you, Patrick. I'm not sure what NP means.
National Park, maybe.
National Park, yeah. I was like,
Glacier
North
National
Pole?
Park.
No.
That makes sense. Well done.
Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
That's your puzzle solving brain.
Right.
Your theory crafting brain.
Is Death Valley a national park? I think it is. 'Cause
I think it is,
They use
too.
it for Tatooine all the time. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I might have to agree with Patrick and say the Redwoods. I've never been in person, but it feels like as soon as you stepped in there, you would be like, oh my God, I'm in Star Wars.
Yeah,
for
sure.
I'm gonna cheat a bit and say Yellowstone, just because Molly and I went there last year with my parents, and it looks just like oh my God, and now I'm blanking on the name. But the main planet from Star Wars Jedi Survivor, one of my favorite video games, and I can't think of the name, but
Oh my
I
gosh! Now
was
I
playing
can't
this like weeks ago, and you
Tanalor's over here.
Yeah, it starts with a B, right?
Someone in the chat.
Kobo, Bracco,
Borgano?
Kobo.
Kobo.
Zephyr.
Kobo.
Okay. Thank you, Chad.
Thank you, Chad. Ugh.
Star
Bailing us
Wars
out.
kind of knows it over here.
Yeah. Star Wars forgets it all. Star Wars 37-year-old explains it.
That's right.
Can't hold it all in anymore.
It's tough. It's tough. The longer we do this show, honestly, the harder it gets, I think.
Yeah. Every day now, something new comes in, something old has to go out.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I'll segue us back in. You know what didn't leave my mind, and I knew what it was right away? Cortosis. Let's talk about that opening fight scene. That was so much fun. We got the first on-screen representation of Cortosis in action, shorting out lightsabers.
Yeah.
How did y'all feel about the opening massacre?
I absolutely loved the effect that they gave Cortosis of like shorting out the sabers and deflecting stuff. I think the visuals they gave to that really nailed kind of what I had in my mind from the EU and stuff. I loved it. Honestly, I think Alex and I were both a little nervous just with how slow the episode opened for a little bit. I was kind of worried that, we weren't going to see some of the action we were expecting to see in this episode. But, it was all good. They were getting us kind of grounded, getting us back into OSHA's perspective to take in, everything that happened later. And then once, sabers start swinging, it's hard to take your eyes off.
Yeah, I thought it was a really, really cool way, honestly, like a cool little nod to Darth Bane, and when he used to be a Cortosis minor before he even became a Sith Lord, and his name was Dez. And I thought it was just a fun, subtle way to almost kind of reference that and say, look, even his lineage before becoming a Sith is still helping the Sith in some way. And I think that was just really cool pull. I never really expected to see it on screen before. And it was, like Max said, just the visual effect, especially like when he headbutted one saber to short it out. I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. I love it.
Yeah.
One of my friends who is like more of a casual Star Wars fan, he watches the movies, he watches some of the shows. I woke up to a text from him. It was an audio message, and he was like, did this mother ever just headbutt a lightsaber out? Yeah, he did.
Yeah, it happened.
Yeah.
It happened.
You sure did.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say it was fun sitting next to Alex while he was realizing what that was and that it was Cortosis. Because at first he was like, is it the teeth? Did he just bite the lightsaber? Is it just the teeth? And I was like, I think it was the whole helmet. I don't know. It was really cool.
Realizing it was, the helmet and the gauntlet. The StarWars.com episode guide did confirm it's Cortosis.
Nice.
They also pointed out that whenever he shorted out a lightsaber, the Cortosis would kind of glow with that lightsaber's color for a second. Which,
cool.
Yeah, it's a really fun little detail. So he headbutts the yellow lightsaber and yellow sparks fly out, blue on the gauntlet. Like, just little things like that. I was like, that's a fun attention to detail I probably wouldn't have even thought of.
Yeah. I love the way that this villain moves. I love just like the way that kind of seemingly the personality comes across in this like unhinged fighting style. He's just kind of swinging wildly, following any impulse, but is somehow, managing to kind of keep it all together and controlled somehow. So just watching him move, like one of the most intimidating and foreboding presences in Star Wars, I think.
Yeah, so. I think Manny was the perfect pick for this role, and Leslie has talked about it a lot, about how she was like, I know exactly who I want for this role, and it's him. And I was reading through one of those Entertainment Weekly articles that came out today, and she was talking about a 1966 kung fu movie called Come Drink With Me. And apparently there's a character in that movie that's kind of playing this like drunken character who's kind of like just a little bit sloppy, and then you come to find out he's like this amazing fighter and this really formidable opponent. And now I have to see that movie because it sounds like that was what inspired Manny's character.
Yeah. You can definitely see the Kung Fu movie influences all over this series, both in the action and the tropes. That's cool. Yeah, I hadn't gotten that tidbit yet, so I'll definitely have to check that out as well.
The action, all of the force fu, and that I'm still over the moon with it, and I'm glad they didn't abandon it just for lightsabers. Yes. And like the cortosis was such a smart way to force people to be like, okay, well now it's hands until the lightsabers are back. Like they keep finding cool reasons to get into fist fights.
Yeah.
And something we've talked about on the podcast before is this era of Jedi probably are better at fighting hand-to-hand combat than they would be with their lightsabers, because there's really no reason to be using their lightsabers that often. In a time of peace, who are they fighting except, to show off in a ceremony or something like that. So I thought it was really cool. And just, I feel like Manny has been bringing it, but this episode especially, I was just so impressed with his performance. Really, really great job in this episode. Like, I can't wait to watch it again, specifically just because he brought it in such a way that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah. He trained too. It sounds like he trained like crazy to do almost all of his own stunts with the fighting and everything, and
with the helmet on.
With the helmet on, I was like, damn, he is killing it.
Yeah,
literally and figuratively.
Oh no.
I do love what you said about how he moves. He just feels like a different Sith. It's not the brute force of Vader. It's not all the like stabby and like spinnies of Palpatine. He just felt unique, and not just in his fighting, but the way that he talked in and out of the helmet.
Oh yeah.
Like just kind of a sense of humor to him. Mm-hmm. I love that part where he's like, why don't you take your helmet off? And he's like, no. Like just creepy and weird.
It's very unsettling.
Yeah.
Like, just creepy.
I think in a lot of ways he honestly comes off as one of the more like earnest characters in the show. It seems like he's the only person who's not hiding something. I mean, obviously he's working in the shadows and concealing his identity. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying like the way he's operating and following his motivations seems to be the most straightforward, at least in the show, which is interesting. And I think it really supports that, the fact that we're kind of getting the villain's perspective on, from this show. It's a different take on what villainry means in Star Wars. Like he's obviously still terrible. He's evil. But I think he is, one of the most like sincere characters in the show in a weird way.
You said that, Alex, in your review today, and I totally agree. Like there's part of me that kind of is rooting for him in a way. And I know I'm not supposed to, but it's like I had that same thing with Kylo Ren. I was kind of like, yeah, go, man. It's the same with Qimir. So, I'm with you on that.
It's hard not to root for those arms.
Yeah, the pythons.
Yeah, I need to get the dumbbells back out.
That's
Maddie Gunner. Let's cut to the chase. Those arms, though. Let's all just take a moment to pay respect.
Well, I was actually in the middle of bringing up something because Molly gave me permission to say that this episode made me realize I'm bisexual. Because my God, That man.
Biceptual.
Bicep.
That works better. That works better on text than it does saying it out loud.
It
But
doesn't sound quite right.
I still approve.
It's yeah. I'm gonna have to get back in the gym, I think. Yeah, Manny Jacinto has inspired me.
Yeah, those arms are the only cannons I care about. I love that. That's funny.
Yeah, everyone was sharing the "oh no, he's hot" meme, which was hilarious and exactly what I was thinking. Oh no, he's hot.
Well, I do want to pause before we get all the way to like the full reveal of Qimir as the Sith Lord, because I want to talk about, honestly, maybe my favorite little moment of the episode is when he's fighting Saul and they have that whole exchange about what kind of a master hides their face from their pupil, and he says, "You tell me." Like, such a sick burn. And Lee Jung Jae's reaction to it, maybe my favorite acting so far in the series. Like, it's just a 3-second shot, but it's like he goes from like surprise to shame to anger so quickly. I love that moment.
Yeah, he's been just absolutely bringing it in his performance, and has really been like the emotional center of everything. He's been the character that I've been, I think, like most closely identifying with on an emotional level through the series. Like, I'm concerned for May and Osha. I'm concerned about what's going to happen to the Jedi, you know. And I think a huge part of that is JJ's performance, and his facial acting is incredible. Just can really distill any emotion down to a single expression, like better than almost anybody in the game today.
Can we also talk about too that conversation that Qimir and Soul have? Did you guys pick up on? It felt like when he says Master Soul and Soul replies, "Who are you?" and he says, "You don't remember me." Is there more to that than just the apothecary scene in episode 2 when they met? Or is that something deeper? Because we felt like it was a little bit deeper than just that apothecary scene.
I think it's possible. Because my first reaction just to hearing him say that was, oh, and then being like, oh yeah, they met in episode 2.
Right.
But still, the way that he said it, it did seem like there was something a little deeper there. And it's not out of the ordinary for Star Wars to have surprise siblings, parents, something, some sort of previous relationship. Right now, I'm kind of leaning towards it's just them meeting in the apothecary. But like I said, that's why everyone else is here. Molly was throwing out theories earlier today too, and I'm like, I'm the responsible one, so I'll let all of you be irresponsible. And
well, when I was doing my workout, maybe too much blood was rushing in or out of my brain, because then I went upstairs and I was done, and I was like, I have so many ideas. And I was like, what if Qimir was like before they got ran out of their previous town, what if he was a kid who, like, one of the witches had a relationship with like someone outside the coven, and she had a kid, and they were like, he's a boy, he's got to go, something like that. Or like if he was like,
also, mind you, Molly was out of breath the entire time she was saying this from working out.
I was so out of breath.
It sounded like you had exhausted yourself thinking, but
I don't know. And I had so many theories of like how he could have been with the coven, or like near the coven, and like
that's where
some situation where Soul saw him at some point and like didn't do anything to help him back then.
Yeah, I really like your spin on it, that like maybe he was exiled just because, you know, he was born male and stuff, and that's, you know, not allowed in their society, and that's why, you know, we didn't see him among the coven in flashbacks or anything like that. But that's very similar to where Alex and I were thinking this morning, thinking maybe that like you know, Qimir was just aware of, we think Soul's hiding a big dirty secret, something terrible that he's done or helped cover up or something like that. And maybe Qimir was present on Bryndock to be able to witness that in some way.
Yeah.
So
he definitely knows the truth. Whether or not it could have been May that told him,
right.
or maybe he had a more connected relationship. Catherine O'Leary is on the same page too. Have a feeling Qimir might be a forbidden son of the witch Evan.
Something like that, or what if there's a more sinister reason why they don't have any kids around? Like, what if they got kicked out of their last town because they were like sacrificing children or something crazy?
That'll change my opinion on the witches real fast.
Yeah,
because right now I'm like, they seem fine.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know what the ascension ceremony, how that ends. I mean, there was a giant hole right behind them. Who knows?
That'd be descension, actually, Alex. Ascension's up. If falling down a hole would be down. So I think
that's true. That's true.
Yeah. I also threw out that he could be the son of Sol and Indara, just as totally out of left field.
Ooh,
that or like a brother or something.
Like I said, I was very out of breath and just spitballing.
Sol did mention his family in episode 3. So, Alex, I also kind of thought about that briefly, but it's like, I don't even know if Qimir would have been alive when Sol was taken. You know what I mean? Like, it could be a situation, Sol was taken, Qimir's born. He's always heard about his older brother who went off to become a Jedi, and he never actually met him. But the sense that I got in that conversation that they were having during the fight was there's a history there that felt heavier than just episode 2. And, we could totally be reading way more into that line than what it was actually meant. But that's just kind of how it felt. Like, my gut reaction was, oh, they know each other. Or at least Qimir knows him in a very intimate way that Sol doesn't seem to know Qimir.
I definitely think that's true.
That felt, I don't know, it felt heavy in that scene.
For now, I think I'm just going to stick with he's a Sith that had no connection to any of these people, but he's using what the Jedi did on Bryndock to, manipulate May, probably going to manipulate Osha. But I'm not opposed to some secret Star Wars soap opera connection.
No.
I mean, that's Star Wars.
Yeah.
I mean, so we don't know how. So Anasea referred to some terrible something that she had to do in order to create May and Osha. We don't know at all what that is. I think it's possible the Sith were involved in that some way. So that's another way that he could just be around Bryndock and aware of what's going on without, being directly involved necessarily.
Yeah. Well, let's start talking about Jecki, which we'll start entering the painful section. First, I wanted to just throw out a fun beat that I enjoyed when she's fighting May, and she almost has May arrested, and she says, "You're under arrest for the murder of Kelnaka and Torben and Indara." And then she throws in, and also the fire that killed your whole family. And that's what enrages May and gets her free. I just thought that was a cool little moment.
Yeah. Real quick, Tally Ho 4 says, "Can't wait for the Jecki Survives fanfics." Let's hear them.
Yeah, and I'll bring up another relevant one because Scotty Heron said, "Stolen from Reddit, but this episode is when the Acolyte officially became High Republic content by killing off tons of fan favorite characters." Yep. It's I feel like High Republic book readers are like, welcome, first time show watchers.
Yeah.
Now it feels like the High Republic era.
I'm sad about it, but I'm like, I'm glad they're being bold enough to do this. Part of me is like, we haven't really known these characters for that long, so I'm able to get over it, I guess, because of that. But I'm also just really happy how bold Leslie has been for this show so far.
I am happy with it. It definitely shocked me. I'm also, I'm feeling both because I'm bummed just because I thought that there were some really great potential character arcs for Jecki and Yord that now I have to let go of. That's okay because, it completely took me off guard. In that Entertainment Weekly episode, Leslie talked about she straight up called the other Jedi red shirts, which like I am regretting my tweet from last night because I put out that image and I was like,
You
all right, good
jinxed
luck,
it.
red shirt. Like obviously Jecki and Yord are gonna be fine. Didn't age well.
Oh.
That's
this is your
exactly what
fault.
she said. She was like, we knew who the red shirts were. We knew they were going to die. I wanted to take this a step further and really, show people that these stakes are high.
And yeah, that the point of putting the red shirts out there so that fans would go, well, they're all dead and everyone else has plot armor. Like we made that assumption, and then she was like, no.
Yeah.
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 And the way that I transitioned from, ooh, a fun new lightsaber variant to like, oh no, it's being
Yeah.
used.
That happened so
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah. It was a really bold choice, and I feel like it was a good choice for the story. I hate it because I really like Jecki's character, and I was kind of thinking, I was starting to form a theory of like, neither May or Osha will be the Acolyte at the end. It will be Jecki, or you know what I mean? Like that's kind of where my mind was going. I was thinking, how could they really twist this? But no, what the twist was is they all die, it was sad, but also, like you said, Molly, really kind of bold and cool to see. I was feeling like Yord would probably go too sooner than later, but I wasn't expecting Jecki at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I really think they were trying to make a specific point by doing it over three times over instead of just one stabbing, to be like, hey, we know that Star Wars has had a problem with people being stabbed and coming back. This one's gonna stick, which it's lame. I love Daphne Keane as a performer. So, lame that we won't get more of her, but I think for the story, it definitely raised the stakes in a way that was needed at this, where we are in the pacing.
And it still kind of gave that catharsis of I don't know if that's the right word, but
Is there a chance her species is immune to holes?
Missed every
I mean, there are
vital
some
organ.
species that technically are, but she is not one of them.
Yeah.
I immediately think of
so.
Orbelin, the blob jelly Jedi, but
I'm glad I'm not the only one that thought of the bowling ball joke. I've seen a lot of those going around today.
I've just seen a lot of like pictures of things with 3 holes in them on. It's
Poor
so sad.
Jecki.
But I'm glad that there was that big surprise right alongside the reveal that yes, it's Qimir. Like we kind of thought that was the case. And I like that in that same interview, Leslie said, I think a good twist is telegraphing what's going to happen. And then once it does, executing it without an ounce of pity or sentimentality. She's like, yeah, we knew you were going to figure this out. So we just like went at it real hard and made it a bloodbath.
Yeah. To me, it's almost more exciting that we've gotten this reveal where it is, because now it shifts the focus onto what the real mysteries are, or opens up room for new mysteries. And like Alex and I have been talking for weeks about how we think there may be a master in the works, hiding from the shadows, something like that. So the fact that we do know who's under the helmet at this point is really exciting to me. I think it came at a perfect point in the season to where it's not going to keep stringing us along with that, but it's been long enough that we understand the impact of the secrecy and everything. And I don't know, I loved the reveal. I'm excited to see what comes from it now that we're not asking that question.
Yeah,
I think
I'm
this show
totally on board with there is a master to Qimir.
I think this show has done such a good job of building up its central mystery. That's the big thing. What did the Jedi do on Bryndock? For me, that's where it all hinges. Like that needs to be satisfying, and I think it will be.
Yeah.
And I like that there are these little mini mysteries that they have not kept us, like you said, strung along, where I think May and Osha might be twins. Oh, yep, they're twins. I don't really trust that Qimir. Oh, okay, yep, there's that. Like
Yeah.
And how about him just saying, what's its name after killing Jecki? Like, oh, cold.
Was that its
hearted.
name? Like, you dick.
Yeah.
That was crazy. But I did see someone tweet something like before that they kept saying what is that instead of like who is that? So like it was like they were referring to him as an it, so maybe he was just doing it back, you know, like he keeps
Like he was getting them back.
yeah, he keeps taking what is being said to him and kind of like pushing it back on people like he did with Soul. And
He
I was like,
does-
oh, maybe he did that on purpose.
Yeah, he
His
seems to
feelings were
have
hurt.
more of a sense of humor than any other person we've seen with a red lightsaber. So
Yeah.
that's possible. That's a cool
Yeah.
read on that.
That's I just love how unique that he seems.
Yeah.
The sense of humor is the big part of it. Of just, well, I was wearing a mask, like
Yeah,
why-
right.
like that. He even kind of said that in the Qimir voice and not
Yeah.
his scary, menacing voice. Or when he broke into that, like, hello,
Hello.
like very
Yeah.
cheerful. It's so
There's something
unsettling.
Joker-esque to
Yeah.
him that we haven't seen in a villain in Star Wars, where there's this joy that they're taking in being so devious. Like you see that sometimes with Palpatine, but it's just because like it's not the same. That one that feels different than this, where like there's like a real mean-spirited twist to this, but he's like still toying with everybody, and it just kind of feels like the Joker to me.
Very unpredictable. Like a lot of the times I would think, you know, oh, Palpatine, Vader, you kind of know what they want. You know, they want ultimate power, but so far Qimir has been very unpredictable.
Yeah. And I love that, like, now that the mask has come off, we've seen what he really talks like when we're seeing his face. I love that it's almost the inverse of what we were seeing before, where when Qimir was talking with May in, a couple episodes ago, I thought that you could kind of see the Sith slipping out in a couple little places where most of the time he was keeping up the facade. Now it's like you can see the real Qimir slip out just in little tiny places underneath the actual, terrible atmosphere that the Sith is instilling. So I like that it's now we're seeing the reverse, and it makes me wonder, like, where does his real personality lie? I think it's somewhere, on kind of in the middle.
I really want to talk about what he said that he wants. Those lines, I thought that was a really cool moment that will wind up being central to the show. Alex, I like you're already rubbing your hands together. Qimir says that he wants the freedom to wield his power however he wants without answering to the Jedi. He also talks about how, like, well, now I have to kill you all, and those are your rules, not mine. So I just really liked, I guess, what he was trying to say. It's very similar to what's going on with the Witch Coven, but I want to talk about why I think it's different when it comes to the Sith. So
yeah, so part of me, like Alex, is thinking there is a connection to the Witch Coven because they are saying so very similar things. They could just come at it with their own conclusions, and they don't have that. But there's some clues throughout the episode that he might have received training from Anastasia or vice versa, because they're doing very similar things, right? Like getting in people's minds and stuff like that. Not full on possession, but they might have learned from each other at one point, and some of that has bled over. But I also kind of wonder too, are we seeing a Sith, part of the Bananite lineage, legacy, if you will, decide to go rogue and, you know what, I'm tired of hiding. I'm tired of the grand plan, always saying that one day we'll get there, we'll do this, we'll do that. I'm going to do my own thing, almost kind of rebelling, not just against the Jedi, but what if he's kind of rebelling against the Sith themselves? And I mean, he says over and over in this episode how much he hates rules. Does he hate the rule of two now? I don't know.
You brought that up in your podcast, and it got me thinking, because I believe it's Darth Tenebris in the Darth Plagueis book, or maybe the short story tie-in. Anyway, I think Darth Tenebris or Plagueis says that there was a Sith before their time that almost ruined it all, that almost gave it all away to the Jedi. That's a Legends book and everything, but Leslie Headland is a fan of Legends, so maybe she took inspiration from that to be like, hey, this is the Sith that almost threw it all away. Why, we don't know yet. Maybe he genuinely does just want an acolyte so that he can go kill his master. But you're right. Like, he does seem just like, you never have to break rules if you don't follow them. Like, maybe he doesn't follow the rule of two.
Sounds like maybe he wants to expose the Jedi, which is a pretty big job for just one or two people. But I wonder if that's part of his motivation.
Yeah, that's always seemed like, in my mind, what he meant by, like, you have to kill the dream. What he says to May early on, like, it's always seemed like he's wanted to kind of attack even the idea of the Jedi Order being good or peaceful, or so I definitely think that that's possible.
Yeah, I think that the killing the dream thing and the whole kill a Jedi without a weapon, even though we have some thoughts about that from this episode, I still think that what the show is going to say about that is like ruining Soul's reputation. And he might not die in this show, but he's going to lose a lot. And it seems almost like a testing ground for, like, let's see if we can break one Jedi. And then we get down to Sidious, and he's like, I'm going to orchestrate this war. I'm going to throw the Jedi into it. I'm going to ruin their reputation. They're going to run around the galaxy doing non-Jedi things. People are going to see that. And then when I kill them all, they will applaud me. So I kind of see, like, Soul might be a little baby version of that idea.
Yeah, and whether or not it's a test, I totally see whatever Sith survives learning that lesson, whether they wanted to do this intentionally or not, and realizing, oh, okay, so this is how we can attack it from this angle, and that's what gets you, like you said, Alex, to Palpatine pulling the Clone Wars and doing everything that he does in the prequels. And I think that's really cool. I think that's
it's
really
like
fun.
that domino meme.
Yeah.
Starts with the little one and
We'll
then
knock
goes to the
Soul
big
over,
one.
and then he'll knock over Vernestra, and so on, or something.
Right. And eventually I am the Senate. So
Right.
But yeah, I like just the way that Qimir talks, and he kind of like tries to act like the Sith and the Jedi are two sides of the same coin, and I just like I don't buy that. Especially his whole like, you all make the rules and now I have to kill you. It's like, well, you told them you were a Sith. Like, you pushed that envelope so that now I have to kill you because you don't like Sith. But that whole thing of this Sith saying, I just want the freedom to do what I want and practice my beliefs. It's like, yeah, but your beliefs are, I have to spread fear and hatred and suffering throughout the galaxy, and I have to dominate everything. It's like, that's different from the witches.
Yeah.
Like, I totally still think, for now, the Jedi overstepped their bounds and did stuff they should not have done with the witches. But that's not the same as the Sith.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's I don't know. It's just crazy. Like, trying to get in the head of this character has taken Alex and I in so many different directions. I don't know. I'm getting to the point where, so I think we kind of think in 2 episodes. So episode 7 is going to be the next time we flash back to what happened on Bryndock. I'm ready to get more information on that now. Just because I feel like in order to keep pushing the present day action forward, I need more, information about everybody's motivations.
Again, listening to you guys made me think of my own theory of just how this series is going to go for the last 3 episodes. Because I agree, episode 7, same director, I think same writer. It's probably going to be the next flashback.
Yeah.
But I wonder if we're going to follow the same The Last Jedi Rashomon style storytelling, where the first time we see the story, it's a half truth. We don't get the full picture. Luke says, "Oh, I went into Ben's hut and he got mad at me." It's like, okay, that's not the full picture, Luke. And we don't know what happened to the witches yet. I think maybe next episode, now that Qimir and Dosha are together, he might tell her misconstrued version of the truth and make things look far worse than they actually are for the Jedi. Tell her the worst possible version, and then in episode 7 we might actually get the real full truth, and we can decide for ourselves.
I'm so down for that, because it's really hard to piece together some of this without the puzzle pieces, and I don't think we have enough puzzle pieces for Brendock to truly know, okay, what happened. There's some things that I think we can pick up on from some of the trailer footage that we saw. We know like some of the things that will probably happen in those flashbacks, but still the question is why? Why did that happen? What was the motivation behind that? And what was driving it? Because I think the motivation of what drove that event will probably unravel everything for us. It's just, we don't really have anything on that just yet. For some reason, I don't know what it was, Indara was at the top of my list for the secret Sith Master. But this episode has kind of made me pull back from that for whatever reason. And I truly have no idea who that master might be, but I'm really excited to see what they do now in response to what happened on Kofar, and if they need to clean up what happened, because it's getting a little messy.
Could be very much like Palpatine showing up to Mandalore when Maul was causing a mess. Be like, look at what you've done. Stab, stab, stab.
Yep. Yep.
Since you bring it up and like the idea that there's another master, I'll throw out a theory that I had that made Molly angry last week. It's something I do not want to happen. It actually came up in our live stream last week. But when you look at these mystery thriller procedural shows, I looked up the name of this trope on TV Tropes, and it's called like Big Bad Bestie, I think. Basically, there's someone close to the main character who appears to be helpful the whole time, and then at the end they're like, oh, you couldn't just leave well enough alone. It happens in like Minority Report and Hot Fuzz and all kinds of movies. And I'm like, Vernestra is kind of fitting that role. And I do not want that to happen, because it feels too far away from her character in the books and comics. Yeah, 100 years have passed, but like, that's just not how I want her character to wind up. But I also just got it in my head, and I was like, oh man, like there are things that I could there are reasons I could see it.
Yeah,
that would be wild to me. Because when the show first came out, we were like discussing, oh, is it going to spoil anything for the High Republic? And we were like, nah, probably not. I don't think they would do that.
That's part of it. It's
that
just
would
like
be huge.
that would feel like a year before High Republic books and comics end, to have that like lingering over us. It's like, oh, by the way, so Vernestra becomes a Sith Lord. Like,
I would say that might boost sales and get people interested who weren't typically going to read it to, I want to see how this Sith came up to be, and then because Vernestra is in everything, read it all. Yeah, we had that thought early on, kind of in the speculation before the season even began, just because of how much they were really emphasizing her character in the lead up to the show. But somewhere along the way, Indara kind of took that spot in our head. That, of course, the biggest issue with Indara is that we saw her die in the very first episode. So,
she only got stabbed once.
That's right. Not 3 times.
Yeah. We now know that it takes 3 to be officially, counted out.
Armad actually brought this up. Imagine a Sith whip. You also told me that the whip lightsaber was like originally a Sith design. And I was like, stop talking to me about this. I cannot have Vernestra be a Sith, but I will bring up one more thing. I took a screenshot of this. Justina Ireland put this on her Instagram earlier, and it could just be the deaths. And it just says, it's Star Wars, the High Republic, don't get attached. And I was like, Justina, no.
I think she just means, people die here, and they die a lot.
Sure.
No.
Dun, dun, dun.
But I wonder if she's like, don't get attached like I did to my character, which then they took and made a Sith.
Well, I should also, the High Republic books and comics are not done. We don't know how Vernestra's arc ends. It might have an ending where I'm like, oh, honestly, Temptation of the Force does some things that makes me go, I understand why Vernestra might not want to tell or trust the High Council with some information. I kind of get it. But that it's quite a big leap to go from there to I'm going to be a Sith someday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We kind of came to the conclusion that her character right now is just kind of representing really where the Jedi are going in terms of really caring about the image of the Order. What does it look like? What's the politics? Is this going to hurt our relationship with the Republic? And almost in a weird way, that feels sadder to me than becoming a Sith Lord. Like in the sense of like, oh man, I don't know, that's also sad to me because, Vernestra, when you read her in A Test of Courage, is just this bright prodigy, wants to do the right thing, had this really cool Force vision during hyperspace to build the light whip and like she's just a great character. But also it's been 100 years. I'm not the same person I was last year, so who knows where we're going with that.
It would be a really, we've been talking about how bold this story has been. It would be bold for them, and it would. I spent all day that day like trying to understand the possibility of this, and I was like, well, it would be kind of interesting because we haven't seen or heard anything out of the Sith in all of the High Republic books and comics and stuff so far. It would be interesting if like everything that Vernestra has been through led to that.
Yeah.
And very sad, but bold.
Right.
So
I'm still hopeful it doesn't happen, but it is a theory that I had, and I was like, I can think of a lot of reasons why it could happen, but I don't want it.
Right. Just, like sometimes, what we do on our show too is we just follow that rabbit trail. Doesn't mean that we endorse it or want it to happen, but it's a possibility. So, sometimes you just got to talk that through.
There was a lot early on in the show that, like, again, I don't think it's Vern, but if for some reason she did end up being a villain by the end of the season, looking back on some of her early actions, she could be viewed as like trying to obstruct the investigation, throwing roadblocks as people get closer. It's not out of the question entirely, but yeah, I'm not wanting to see it, and I don't think at this point it will be her.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess my theory on the Sith Master is that it would be a brand new character, or it would be a familiar Legends Sith Master that we just might not see till the end. We've talked a lot about Darth Tenebris, and I stick to my guns by saying they're not going to make a Bith Sith in live action because it will look too goofy. But
I think
if they do, she's being bold. Why not?
The world is ready.
Ready for a Bith Sith.
If we get a season 2 of this show, yes, bring it on. I feel like she'll have way more leeway to do something like that.
They don't have to bring back Legends characters as the same species either, though. It could be Darth Tenebris and have the same name, have the same story and everything like that, and just be a different series for practical production purposes. But
and we would just deal with the
fallout from that.
The fallout of that, just like we've dealt with all the other fallout.
That's right. We'll get through it together.
This is somewhat relevant, so I'm going to bring this up from Liam. Thank you. Love seeing my favorite podcasters with my favorite Star Wars YouTubers. So cool. What if Qimir was a Padawan of Vern? Something happened as a youngling or Padawan. He was kicked out and has a vendetta. Could explain how he knows Soul too.
I do think it would be interesting if Qimir were at some point a Padawan at the Jedi Academy, and we get to see a flashback of that, and we see like them kicking him out for, you know, not wanting to follow the rules, and then he became obsessed with Jedi rules as he grew older. That could be cool.
Yeah, and there's, you know, people have commented, like Indara commented that May seemed like she was trained by a Jedi. And so I think the Jedi Order also just uses that as a catch-all term for anybody using the Force. Like Qui-Gon calls, you know, Darth Maul trained in the Jedi arts in Phantom Menace. So it could just be that too. But there's a chance that she's actually recognizing the lineage of some teachings that, you know, maybe he received at the Order as a child before leaving. I think that's possible, and, you know, I think we've seen that story several times before, but it's still, you know, it'd be interesting.
Yeah, the Jedi definitely have a history of, you know, some of the Lost 20 left and became Sith Lords, at least at least 10% of the Lost 20. So it's happened before. I think I agree, though, Mac, that I would prefer something different just because it does feel a little familiar. I kind of get the sense that he's never been part of the Jedi and just hates them because they're rules lawyers.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I didn't even plan that, but we haven't touched on our fallen rules lawyer hero. I kept my sticker on all day, but
are those stickers going to be discounted now?
they're collector's items.
Yeah, that's right.
I saw people being like, "Well, my Yord Horde shirt got here today."
Oh no.
Look, just because he's dead doesn't mean the Yord Horde dies too.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Alex was thinking early on when we first started watching the show, he was like, I wonder if this is going to be like an anthology. Like maybe if we get a second season, it'll be a bunch of brand new characters. And I was like, no way. Lucasfilm has put so much work into these characters. We got Yord Horde stickers, you know, like they're already on merch and stuff. And now this happens. And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
When he had his neck snapped, I just like sadly let out Yord Horde, like as if that would do anything. But Yord Horde,
but
not fair.
Yeah,
Man,
Yord
is rough
for sure. Yord was a character that I actually really, really liked in the first like 3 episodes or sort of like, you know, what we did see of him before this. Last week's episode kind of prepared me for his passing. He came off as a lot less like lovable.
He did
to
something
me
personal to Mac. I don't know what it was, but
but so I don't know. He was a character that I've really had an arc with, as far as he seemed at first to be like the C-3PO type. He was providing comedy through him being ridiculous himself, kind of a little bit. Loved that. Then he just like kind of got a little ridiculous.
I'm with you. Like, I think it shocked me that he was killed, and I think even more so than Jekki's death, because I feel like Jekki changed as a character. Not so much with Yord. He was always just kind of a jerk, and I wanted to see him find out what happened to Soul or what Soul did, and like have the guy who is so into the Jedi Order, like have his faith shaken, have him deal with that, force him to be part of a cover-up. Like, that would have been so compelling to watch him have to do. Instead, he didn't really change at all and then died. And I still really liked watching him. I liked that jerk, but I wish he got a little bit more to do.
One of the most depressing things about his death to me was that had he just followed his rules, and you know, taken Osha back to the ship and not gone back, he probably would have survived. And I was like,
okay, well, you know what, Molly, there is a bit of an arc then. You're right.
Yeah,
Osha
he did decide to like do the right thing and go back and try to help, and it got him killed.
He had a good idea too, using the helmet against Qimir. And I thought I was like, oh, okay, Yord. Oh, Okay.
Oh,
Dang, Yord.
good try, Yord.
He kept doing that in episode 2 as well. He would step out of the shadows and be like, OSHA didn't kill anyone. I'm like, good for you, Yord. Like sticking up for OSHA. Like, and then the very next scene he says something dumb. I'm like, come on, Yord. Like, just get it together. Stay
Yord.
cool.
I didn't learn Shriwook. I wanted to learn something more nuanced.
I do feel like that's going to come up in the next few episodes in terms of, I don't know if Soul's going to understand Basil of like, what are you trying to tell me? Because he took Shriwook in Jedi class and not that language. So
that and
really
Jackie had the little translator thing, so that might still be with her. So they're going to be like,
that could actually be very intense because, I mean, we'll skip to the end a bit here, but the fact that Basil finds Pip's head and is like, oh, thank goodness we didn't lose Pip too. Because
he knows what's up.
Yeah, and then
he knows what's up.
He's definitely like creeping around the corner. Like, I think he can smell that's not OSHA.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe the whole episode, Basil's going to be running around like, I don't know how to talk to you, Soul, and tell you you're in a lot of danger, but trying to find a way to communicate that could be pretty fun / intense.
I'm curious how long May is going to last in this like little switcheroo disguise, because she still has the head tattoo.
Yeah.
And
the Parent Trap.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to last long.
It happened on House of the Dragon this week as well.
Big week for twins.
Yeah,
Big week for twins. That is crazy.
Eric and Eric.
We mentioned this on the podcast, but you know, they made a point to show OSHA had that tattoo on her arm. I think that's what's going to tip off Soul later of like, she didn't have her tattoo. So he's going to pick up, and I agree. Like, I don't know if he can't see the spiral marking on her forehead, or if that like can be removed. I don't even know. You know, it just got on there with the Force during the ceremony, so I don't know if she can take it off or not. But
I think she's just keeping her hair very precariously placed.
I do get the sense that maybe Soul already suspects something. Just the way, I mean, he was waking up from being stunned, and it's been a busy day, so he might be a little out of it. But just even the way she talked, like, Master, we must get to the ship. It was like a little too formal for the way OSHA spoke. And he kind of gives her a look, and he's like, where is she? Your sister. Like, maybe he suspects but isn't sure. So, but the tattoo's good because they had that whole scene where they talked about it.
Yeah,
it's Chekhov's tattoo at this point. The gun has been placed on the table. It will be used before the play is over. The tattoo's gonna come up.
Also think that Soul might be on a little bit of a revenge kick right now in terms of like, I've been thinking, well, why wouldn't you call Coruscant like right away when you get to the ship and just be like, we got a problem? Well, I think if he did that, he knows, because Vernestra has been kind of his roadblock since episode 1, he wouldn't be able to go and find out what's going on and get to the bottom of this if he tells people. So I don't think he's telling anyone yet because he wants to handle this on his own, either to conceal what he did or get revenge on Qimir for what happened, or I guess both.
It's also possible he does try to contact them right away, and May does something to sabotage their comm system, or I imagine that'll be answered very quickly in the next episode.
Well, we see the shots in the trailers that we see Vernestra. I can't tell if that's Kofar or if it's a different planet, because
it looks like Kofar.
If it is Kofar, I imagine maybe Soul gets through to Vernestra, and maybe Vernestra's like, oh my god, okay, I'll be there in a minute. Like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. And you know, I do think in the end the witches will be blamed for this event, because we know that they can possess people, and they've done it before in the past. So I think when the series gets wrapped up, I've been calling it the Mundi Commission. I think Coyote Mundi will be the lead investigator on this. He'll be like, oh, witches can possess people? That's what happened here. call it a day, really bad day. That's what happened. And then go about their day, not realizing that the Sith were involved at all. But yeah, I don't know how they're going to do it, but I'm confident that they will kind of address some of those questions we have of like, well, why didn't this get back to the High Council?
Right. I mean, I think that there's a possibility that they, let's say Sol does call Vernestra. He's like, there's a Sith running around, and Vernestra's like, I'll be right there. But she probably wouldn't want to tell the High Council. She doesn't want word to get out. So she's like, keep this on the hush hush. I'll be right there. Maybe together, the Sith Master, maybe together they kill Qimir, and then they're like, all right, well, problem solved. Sith dead. There's no reason to tell anyone about this, right?
Yeah.
Let's just continue to sweep things under the rug.
Yeah, we'll just say it was a Knight of Ren and call it a day.
Oh, should we talk about that? Because we've gotten so many super chats about
that's why I was like, let me
Okay.
try to pop this in here.
They straight up played his music, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They
Okay.
What do
definitely
we
played
think
Kylo
about
Ren's
the
theme.
music? Was that a nod to the Knights of Ren, or was it more Ben Solo / Kylo Ren himself?
So I think we do as an audience have to take those kind of musical cues seriously, because we've seen things like when Snoke shows up, they play the music from the Opera House when Palpatine's giving the speech about Darth Plagueis, and we thought that meant something different for a little bit, but turns out it was pointed. Like, even over years, it's pointing to the fact that Palpatine's has created kind of Snoke, and Snoke's a puppet on strings. So I think we do have to kind of take that seriously. I'm not saying it's for sure indicative that this Sith is a Knight of Ren or anything like that, but they usually make those kind of choices for a reason.
Oh yeah, I think it was on purpose. I just don't know exactly what it means.
Right.
I also think, everyone's associating it with Qimir. I think it's also possible it could be about Osha instead. If it's Ben Solo's theme, Kylo Ren's theme, he was corrupted by Snoke. He was a good person. He was a Jedi, but someone pulled him to the dark side. So it could be about Osha and her about to start her journey to the dark side, because I kind of think that's on the table. May
for sure.
was already mad and being manipulated by Qimir, and then she found out like, hey, my loss wasn't as bad as I thought, and so I don't need to do this. But Osha is over here about to learn, oh, everything I thought was actually way worse than I thought. So I could see her becoming the Acolyte.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys also? Sorry, like I just want to ask you guys, because I'm not sure myself. When that music's playing and he bends down over Osha and he reaches for her wound, my mind immediately went to, is he healing her? And I don't know if that's just because of what Kylo and Rey always did with each other, and that music was playing, so my mind just went there. But like, did he heal her? What was that?
Oh, bring up from Danimaniac had that exact question. What do we read into Qimir force healing Osha?
I don't think he healed her.
I don't think he did either.
Okay.
I don't know if he was trying to, or I think it was just him kind of like pointing out the wound. I don't
think
know.
he did a force motion, and then she just kind of like turned over. It didn't look like her wound healed, and I think they would have made it more apparent if that's what he was doing.
Yeah.
But even
seeing
a
the
dark
tissues
side
coming
thing
back
either.
together.
Yeah.
And even if he did heal her, even though I agree that's not really a dark side ability, I do think that it kind of makes sense, because he doesn't seem even slightly annoyed that she almost got him killed. He seems like impressed and like, hey, let me cover you up, let me take care of you.
Because she defeated him without a weapon. He was like, oh, you know what? This was the pupil I was looking for.
I got the wrong sister.
Honestly, like, part of me
Interesting.
wonders if he has been after Osha the whole time. If he's been like, May will do, but I know about this girl, and she's the one that could turn, but I have to get May to get to her.
Yeah.
Or it's a very Sith thing to be like, I don't know, I'll try for both. Like they're constantly changing who they want their apprentice to be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
pit them against each other.
When I heard the Kylo Ren theme, I guess the first thing I thought of was like maybe it was referring to when Kylo Ren was trying to get Rey to join him and like wanted to teach her. And so I was like, maybe this is just like a teacher pupil moment where we're thinking, oh, this is Kylo Ren wanting Rey to join him, and maybe it'll actually happen here.
That's good too. I could
I like
definitely
that.
see that. What about, okay, so I think we need to talk about the possibility. This is, again, getting a little crazy, getting a little out there, but like
This is the least
music,
likely.
The
Yeah.
least likely, yeah.
Least likely.
It's one of the more entertaining things to talk about, but I think statistically improbable. But like the music could be playing because there is a direct connection to the lineage of the Knights of Ren in some way.
So real quick before we start talking about it, just because we did get a lot of questions about this, Ren points out that Ren, the stranger, is kind of a mix between the original Knight of Ren leader Ren and Kylo. Same jacked arms, gauntlet on the left wrist, Ren style, same coat as Kylo, and his theme song. Leftist wants to know, are we sure Qimir is not a Knight of Ren? I had another one here.
Yeah, a lot of people discussing that he's not a Sith, which I don't agree with. But we'll get
says
into
Knights
it.
of Ren embrace theatricality and their armor to inspire fear, just like Qimir in his helmet. Yeah,
I
like
think he's a Sith, but there might be something to that. One of the things where my mind went is if he's, let's go with the idea that he's a Sith who's decided, maybe I don't want to do the rule of two anymore. Maybe I don't want to do that. And I don't want to do what the Jedi are doing. This could be the inception point for a version of the Knights of Ren, potentially. I mean, Charles Soule is one of the executive producers on the show. So, I mean, it's possible. But again, like Max said, probably the least likely answer. I think he is a Sith.
It's a lot to be bringing into the fifth episode of an 8-episode season where there's so many other mysteries and things like that. I think there's just like not enough time to communicate that idea fully. But there are a lot of like similarities. The way he moves and fights is I think Kylo is the most similar in his fighting style.
Very handsome.
Yeah.
Very handsome, very important.
Very strong.
Yeah. a lot of the
Works
things
out.
he's trying to teach, May seem evocative of some of the philosophies that we know of from the Knights of Ren. Like they kind of use like the lightsaber as like an object lesson sort of thing, and they're like, we destroy what we want, or this weapon gets swung anywhere regardless of like moral values and stuff like that. That sounds like what Qimir's saying. He just wants to be free of rules, regardless of where they are. There are some of those parallels and possibilities, but it just seems like a lot.
I agree. It seems like a lot to explain in 3 episodes. Like not so much to us who know about the Knights of Ren and stuff, but to like my casual friends who are watching and might remember the Knights of Ren and who they were. Yeah. It does seem like a lot. And also Leslie has made a deal of saying this is a story from the Sith perspective. Yeah. And so if they were kind of trying to hide the truth from us, be like, oh, it's actually about the Knights of Ren, I'd be like, that's less exciting to me.
As cool as that story would be, like there are some sort of expectations you have going into a show that I feel like do need to be fulfilled. If you're saying it's a Sith show, it needs to be a Sith show. And I think that's what made this episode so exciting and so fun, is because it was fulfilling the promise of the premise in this episode. And that's like a lot of what we've seen so far has been set up for this, and I think for the next 3 episodes. And that's where I'm really, really excited to be, because I want to know more. Okay, why are you doing this? Are you trying to initiate the plan now? Or another idea we had is like, is it possible because Qimir was described before the show as a purveyor of artifacts? Is it possible he found a Sith holocron and is a separate Sith outside of the Rule of Two, and the Rule of Two Sith might even be like, yeah, we need to take care of this guy. This is
There's going to be a Spider-Man moment where they're all pointing at each other. Like,
You're Sith?
wait.
We're Sith. What?
Wait.
There's only supposed to be two of us.
right. So I don't know.
In a comic that Charles Soule wrote, the Vader series, you've got Darth Momin's helmet, where basically the spirit of Momin is in the helmet and instructs Vader, and they have conversations and all that kind of stuff. Qimir could have learned from something like that too, to where an actual Sith had some kind of ability to teach him and stuff in real time, but that wasn't actually still there. So I don't know. There's all kinds of cool possibilities. I don't know. The sandbox they've created is awesome.
Yeah, it kind of feels the same to me as the Knights of Ren, where I think it's simpler to just say it's one of the two Sith at the time.
I agree.
Like, I think that already I am compelled by the idea of Qimir is the apprentice, hoping to recruit an acolyte, so together they can kill his master. Whether or not that succeeds, who knows?
Right.
But I do feel like there's just two Sith right now. But who knows? I mean, like, if there's a chance to see, hey, I was corrupted by this holocron and it was from Darth Bane. Here, look. And it opens up and I'm like, hey, then I'd love to see Darth Bane.
Hello, it's me, Darth Bane. You might recognize me from... What do you think about him not having a name? Because a lot of people were talking about that. And my first thought was either... his master hasn't given him like an official Sith name yet, or he did and he's pissed about it and it's a terrible name and he's like, I don't have a name.
Darth Icky.
Darth Insanius.
George Lucas classics.
I thought that was interesting too. Like maybe he doesn't want to reveal it, but I do get the sense that he does not have a Darth name yet, and maybe it's because maybe his master thinks he's not worthy of it yet, and he's trying to show his master, no, I am, and I'll take one for myself. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I'm seeing a lot of great names in the chat, though.
Oh, yeah.
Darth Dingus.
Darth Buff.
Darth Dincher.
Dentures. Darth Veneer.
That one's not bad, actually.
Darth Dingus. I like
that. Speaks to me. I mean, I like people just immediately going with Darth Jason or Darth Bortles.
Bortles?
Yeah, it's from A Good Place, which honestly, this is making me want to watch The Good Place again.
Oh, yeah.
Complete opposite side of the spectrum. But
the whiplash of seeing Manny Jacinto in The Good Place after this is going to be wild.
So I've never seen The Good Place, but it makes me want to check it out.
Yeah. It's really good.
This is like a slight spoiler for the first 2 episodes, but in the first little bit, Manny plays like a monk that's taken a vow of silence, even though he's in the afterlife. So like he's in heaven and he's just quiet and very serene. Turns out he is not supposed to be in heaven, and he's just like a complete doofus.
He's a DJ from Jacksonville.
Yeah,
is what he actually
like
is.
He, due to a clerical error, he got into heaven. And he's just trying to not get kicked out. So it's very similar in this, like, he's pretending to be one thing. Yeah.
Just don't talk.
The show's great. It's wonderful.
Oh, I got it.
And it's kind of like this in the sense that every time you think, okay, this is what they're going to do for this whole season, they're like, nah, that was 3 episodes and we're moving on to the next cool thing.
Yeah, for sure. Going back to just like what possibly not having a name could mean, my initial read on that first, before kind of thinking it through, was just that he was saying he was something else other than the Bane Sith legacy. That the closest approximation the Jedi would have would be a Sith. So you would just call me a Sith. But again, I think he is probably a Sith, so that kind of falls apart.
That line is interesting, and I wonder if he just delivered it that way because the Jedi, like Yord, doesn't even know, like, red lightsaber, what is this?
Right.
So
yeah, that's how I took it. I was like, if he told just a complete stranger, a civilian, hey, I'm a Sith, they'd be like, a what? I thought he said that because he's like the Jedi. You Jedi call them Sith. So yes, that's what I am to you. I don't know.
Yeah.
I agree. I also think it's a line kind of for the audience too, of like to confirm we're Sith here.
Yeah.
You know, like this
Say
is
the word.
Yeah, exactly.
For the most part, I don't think this show is trying to trick us and
Yeah, I agree.
mislead us. I do hope that there's like something, whether it's what happened on Brindok or that we get to see the master or whatever. I think they've been pretty transparent of like it's it's probably Qimir, and like yes, it is.
Yeah. But then they rewarded it because everyone was like, oh man, everyone saw that coming. They rewarded us by killing 2 precious, precious babies that we shouldn't have lost. So thanks a lot.
One note that I wanted to touch on I have 2 more notes, but one of them that we kind of skipped over, but it's still fitting as we head into this last little bit, is I want to talk about Soul and that moment where he almost kills Qimir, but Osha pulls him back from the brink, even though I'm kind of like, Osha, that was probably fine. But
it was justified.
But
this is
for Soul and his character, I love that he didn't do it because I've been pretty hard on him in some of our live streams and reviews, even though I've always been like, I think he's a good person, but this is like the moment of him going, this is not what the Jedi do, even though it would solve all of my problems. Like, obviously, he can't wait to tell Osha what I did. I could just lop his head off, but no, that's not what we do. And so this to me just confirms, like, Soul, you're a good dude. You're a good Jedi. I know you made probably a very big mistake, but I still like you.
I took that moment as like, Soul does not want to disappoint Osha yet again. Like he does want to come clean. He does want to, clear the air. And if she's the one to stop him from doing this, he's like, I got to stop. I can't do this in front of her and disappoint her even more. Like I will lose every chance that I ever had to make this up to her if I do this and she's the one trying to stop me.
Yeah, and I might almost too, like I might confirm to Osha that I am a bad person because she's going to learn something terrible soon. And if I do this, there's no coming back from it. Yeah, I definitely agree that it kind of confirms for me that Soul's not dark side. It's just a good guy who made a bad mistake. And
and that's important for this show, I think, too, because it is a show that's kind of coming at the Jedi from a different angle. It's giving you more of these dark-sided perspectives on what they represent and everything, but we want the Jedi to still be good guys, so it is important to have a fallible character, one that makes mistakes and stuff like that, but is still inherently good and that we can still root for at the end of the day.
I think they're doing a great job of showing that, like, Qimir is trying to act like the Jedi are hypocrites and like, you're no different from the Sith. It's like, no, the Jedi make mistakes, but they're trying their best in a difficult galaxy. Whereas the Sith aren't trying at all. Like they're not trying to be good. They're just trying to be selfish and cause pain.
Yeah.
And it's like, they're not the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. I'm really enjoying seeing, like you said, Mac, just a fallible Jedi. Like these aren't perfect, characters. They make mistakes. And that's a lot of what the High Republic is about. That's like one of the biggest themes in A Test of Courage, which is Vernestra's first book, is that her Padawan makes a big mistake, taps into the dark side, and it comes back to it. And, he sticks around and she's like, it's okay. Like we can move on from this. We can do better. We just have to choose to do better. And Soul has chosen to ignore it instead of, doing the right thing and clearing the air and confessing whatever it was that happened or whatever he did. But he's just been kind of pushing all that down.
Yeah, and it seems like maybe even lied about it. And I think that could be one of the themes of the show of like, don't make a bad thing worse by trying to cover it up. The best way, the best medicine for something like this is to let the light in, soul, and be honest. Like, yeah, that's going to hurt. That's going to be awful. That's going to be really painful to go through. But in those kind of moments, like, you're just going to make things worse, and let something fester while, you know, you're covering it up. And it's just going to be growing and growing and growing until it eventually explodes, like we're seeing on Kofar.
I like that it's a pretty relatable issue. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure whatever he did is gonna, like, oh, we accidentally murdered a coven of witches. Like, that's not relatable.
Not super.
But the idea of, like, oh, I did something I'm ashamed of, and I really don't want people to find out about it, and I'm just gonna try to push it down and hide it. Like, yeah, that's a relatable issue, but told in like this big mythic scale where the stakes are high and 6 people can die in an episode.
Yeah. And what else is Star Wars for but telling the kind of, you know, moral lessons while the stakes are high and 6 people can die?
Right.
The last little topic I wanted to bring up was from that Entertainment Weekly interview, and Leslie talked about wanting this season to be self-contained. She said, "It feels like everyone's really expecting their shows to get a second season, and I don't feel that's a good idea. I threw everything into season 1 because who knows what's going to happen." She said she had ideas for season 2. She's just not banking on it. And I'm like, thank you. Not because I think that there's probably a good chance it will get renewed, but I'm also grateful that she didn't just assume that. And like when Ahsoka ended on several cliffhangers, glad it got renewed. But I was like, you know, the streaming wars, like, this is such a weird time for television, and there's no guarantees, and shows on Netflix get canceled left and right. So I'm like, thank you for, like, making this just a complete story in season 1, and we'll see what happens in season 2. Could be a new cast or something, but I'm glad that this is probably going to be very satisfying as a 1-season story.
Yeah, she was like, I'm going to shoot my shot, and because it is a brand new story, I'm going to get it all out there in the first season. And then, great. If it gets renewed for another season, I've got plenty more ideas. I love that.
Yeah,
I do too.
For sure. And honestly, instead of a season 2, I'd prefer them to do other shows in the same time period. Just give us other, like, High Republic era shows, or even go further back, you know, whatever. But I think the beauty of this show has been the lack of baggage it's bringing into anything, and it's allowed it to be so fresh and so novel, and it's really been like a breath of life into Star Wars streaming, especially, I think. And so, you know, give us more shows like that. I'm glad, you know, that, you know, like you said, Molly, she's shooting her shot, throwing everything she has at it, giving us a nice, you know, tight story. Give her another show, you know, like, it doesn't have to be a second season of this one.
Give her an Old Republic show.
Yeah.
Whoa, please. I need more Cellcath in my life. But yeah, one of the ideas that I thought would be super interesting is there's a show on Apple TV called For All Mankind. Fantastic show. You should watch it. Really enjoy it.
Adore
so
For All
good.
Mankind.
We love
so
it.
Good. What I like about that show is each season kind of jumps a decade. You could do something very similar where you have some leftover characters from the previous season, age them up a little bit, but also introduce new characters, and then they'll be aged up the next season. And so, like, but there's an overall story arc happening as you go forward. They could do that leading to the Phantom Menace, but they could also go backwards. I mean, they could go back 10 years and then go back 10 years and then go even to the point where we're in the High Republic era books that we're reading right now. And you see what the Sith are doing in the background while the Nihil are causing chaos and stuff. There's so many options here that I think could be really cool. But I really do like the idea of, like, if there's a season 2, let's make it 10 years later. Let's see what's going on then. You know what I mean? I think that would be really, really cool.
I fully agree. That's like just a vibe I was getting after episode 4 before I knew most of the cast was going to get murked. And I thought that it would be interesting if we jumped generations into the future and be like, all right, let's check in on the Sith. Let's check in on the Jedi.
Yep.
and each season is like, okay, the Sith have to do something in their minds. They're like, to get to the end goal, we have to make a lot of noise and we have to
Right.
get away with it. And it's like always a cat and mouse mystery. I guess we would know that the Sith always pretty much get away, but
Right.
I also like this idea that we could keep changing the title. That might be confusing for fans, but Armand said season 2 could be called The Master, or it could be like The Apprentice, and then season 3 is The Master.
Yeah.
Something like that.
That'd be cool.
But it would be fun to start with some more unknown characters, and then like season 2, hey, there's this Plagueis guy and he's an apprentice, and then season 3, I don't know, we just keep building towards more familiar stuff.
It could always be the apprentice seeking out an acolyte because they're ready to take out their master. That could always be the premise of the show. It's just it's set in a different time period. You know what I mean? Like it's just 10 years later or 15 years later or whatever. And it's like, well, how did they do it? How did they get away with it until we eventually get to
Fair.
I was going to bring that up, Alex. I was like, no, we're not calling it The Apprentice.
No.
Yeah, maybe let's just keep it the Acolyte. But that's great.
I'm like, oh, I'm suddenly realizing why the show's called what it's called, actually.
They were like, we need a new word.
Well, that's everything I had from my notes to talk about. I know y'all had some notes too, so if there's anything we didn't discuss that you want to jump on.
I think we got it all. You know, we threw out our theories. We chased those rabbits. We'll see what comes of it in the next 3 episodes. But thank you guys for having us on. This was so much fun.
Yeah, for sure. It's been a blast.
I've been telling all of our guests offline, but I want to tell all of them and you on stream as well. You know, the past couple of weeks have been kind of crazy, but doing these live streams and having the guests on and having people in chat has always been so much fun. And has just like there wasn't really, I didn't check, I'm sure there was some negativity, but this week it seemed like it was less. But it always just sweeps all of the bullshit on Twitter away.
Right.
And it's so much fun to just talk about this show with the two of you, with Talking Bay 94, Daughters of Ferrix, Christina Ariel. Like, all of our guests have been a blast. So thanks for joining another group of guests that was a blast to talk to.
Yeah, it's been really fun. And like, this has been one of my favorite shows to just discuss, period, for Star Wars. Like, it's been so fun week to week to kind of like think up theories and analyze, what does this mean? I think mostly because the show is kind of like just giving us these little bits every week, but it's also made me seek out other people's podcasts more. Like, I've added like a bunch more shows to my, listening list to listen to, because I'm like, everyone says something that I never thought of about this show, and I'm just like, my mind is being blown by people's tweets and people's podcasts, and I'm like, yeah, what about that? It's been crazy fun.
And that's what it's all about. I think that's our goal. I know that's y'all's goal too, of just like, the reason we love Star Wars is because we can have these conversations, and we love the universe and being able to think about, like, what if this happened or that happened, or this was really cool from the episode. And, that's why we do what we do, and that's what makes it so much fun. And so, something that I've thought for a long time is you guys help lead the way in that in the fandom. And so I just want to say, on behalf of our podcast, is thank you for being such a great example of, hey, yeah, this is, the goal here is just to have fun with Star Wars and be able to have such a good time with fellow Star Wars fans, So thank you guys for helping lead the way.
Yeah, for sure. And we are Children of the Watch, by the way, if you haven't heard our podcast name or whatever. We do breakdowns of every episode of The Acolyte. We do voicemail episodes every week as well. Love fostering the community over there. So, check us out. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, there's already links in the description right now for your podcast and your Twitter and your YouTube channel. So everyone go give them a follow, give them a listen. That's what we've been keeping up with your episodes and having a lot of fun. And yeah, like every time Molly listens, especially, she's like, they're kind of convincing me of like some wild theory.
That's awesome.
We have a blast, and
Yeah.
this was a blast. So
Yeah.
Well, yeah, thank you
Awesome.
for hanging out with us.
Thank you guys.
We'll let you all go. We're going to stick around and answer some chats, but yeah, thank you again, and have a great rest of your night.
peace, y'all.
Keep the watch.
See y'all.
See ya.
I was going to bring up one question real quick from Corey's data pad here. Good to see you,
Oh.
Corey. Hey guys, missed last step. How's Jackie and Yord doing? They're
Corey,
doing
just
great.
just don't watch
Great,
the show
Corey.
anymore.
Yeah.
Switch to a different show.
Yeah, just go put on Young Jedi Adventures.
They lived happily ever after. They're they're off living on a farm now. Very happy.
Oh man. Well, let's dive in. There's another one from Leftist Hominid here. Thank you so much. If Qimir didn't call himself a Sith, was he actually a Sith? And we kind of talked about this, but I wanted to bring it up and ask you, Molly, if Qimir didn't say the word Sith in this episode, would you still think he was a Sith?
Yes.
I think I would too.
Because Leslie Headland has
Yeah.
said from the beginning that this show is about the Sith. I'm trying to be welcoming of everyone's thoughts and theories, but I think the Knights of Ren are a bunch of punks, and I hate them. So
Punk ass bitches.
I just, I'm fine if they're not involved in this. But if you think that, that's okay. I'm not going to fault anyone for thinking that, but
Yeah.
I just had to get that off my chest.
Yeah, I'm definitely more in line with the Sith line of thinking.
I think so too. And then like we were talking about earlier, that's it would confuse the general audience. This being a brand new Star Wars story, I feel like they're going to be like, these are the Jedi, these are the Sith, good guys, bad guys. Maybe that can be interpreted different ways, but essentially, yes, Sith. Nothing else, nothing in between. Sorry if Charles Soule wanted to bring the Knights of Ren into this show. I'm not afraid to tell him that the Knights of Ren are punks.
Yeah, you yelled at him about Burry, so.
Thank you, Samuel Rogers. Chimir's best line was when he said to Soule, "I've accepted my darkness. What have you done with yours?" Because it acknowledges that every Jedi has darkness. Soule has done dark things he can't face. Ooh, that was a good line.
Pretty much all of Chimir's lines I really liked, and they were all just digs at Soule, and just like, I know what you did.
This reminds me of what's the episode arc with Yoda and the Clone Wars where we see dark Yoda, or like Yoda's dark side weird apparition.
Yeah, Dark Yoda's fine.
Yeah. Every Jedi has darkness, and just because you think you've gotten rid of it one day doesn't mean it's never going to come back. Like, you're always going to have to deal with keeping that in check and keeping the balance.
Yeah. And that is like Yoda's arc is kind of, I think he tells the Force priestesses like, I've acknowledged my darkness. Like, I'm all good there. And they're like, no, you got to do it basically every day. And the way he defeats his darkness is by like letting it into himself and being like, I do have darkness in me, but it's not just about accepting it. It's choosing to not let it control you. Where, yeah, Qimir, the Sith, are like, I've accepted my darkness and I'm going to let it control my every action.
Yeah.
Scotty Heron, thanks for being a member of the 603rd. Rewatched the first 3 episodes today in a row after processing yesterday's. It's really different knowing what's coming next.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I would like to do, is maybe like right before the end, just rewatch all 7.
Yeah. I do think I'm glad this show wasn't all released at once, but I do think anyone watching it after the fact, being able to binge it, I think it'll just click a little bit better with some people, you know? Like, because we got the screeners for the first 4, I think that kind of helped us being able to see all of them closer together. I don't know.
No, I think you're right.
But I'm still thankful that it's weekly.
Mm-hmm.
Danimaniac, I think not only will Qimir reawaken Osha's powers, but she'll use the dark side when she learns the truth about Soul. Yeah, I think so too.
Yep. I think that's where we're headed. I think we have swapped masters, and you know, we're scared for Soul and what May might do, but like if he does, like I said, it kind of seemed like he might suspect. So, I mean, he could influence May. He doesn't seem like he has any ill will towards May. I do genuinely think that alongside wanting to go ahead, Molly.
Well,
you look like
he
you got
had
something
her
to say.
in, you know, he was choking her, so
No, Soul.
Oh, Soul. Okay, sorry.
Like,
I thought you were talking about Qimir.
Yeah, no, Soul and Jecki were trying to save May from Qimir.
Yeah.
So if Soul knows that that's May and not Osha, he might play along. He might win her over to the light side. You know, she's on her way. She doesn't want to be a Sith anymore. So I do think there's some interesting potential there for the twins to switch places.
Qimir awakening a lot of people with those arms.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Man, last night it was just a lot of thirst tweets about Manny. I was like, whoa. But they're all correct.
Sometimes I wonder what the thirst tweets about Darth Vader would have been if Twitter existed in 1977 and the 80s.
Yeah.
Tin Man says, I expected the Qimir twist, but not the Yord. Oh, the Yord twist. I don't know if that was an intentional pun or not, but well done. This is a true High Republic entry. Loving the show. Shouted when the Cortosis shorted the sabers. I did too. I think I said Cortosis like 3 times. Just dumb.
I was like, okay.
Cortosis.
You can tell me what that is after the show.
Look, Cortosis.
Yeah. I'm going to take a bathroom break, actually.
Okay.
I've been chugging this water. BRB.
Elliot Finn, thank you. May walks like herself until the moment when Soul turns around, and then she starts walking and carrying herself like Osha. Amazing acting from Amanla. I did not notice that, but that's a cool catch. I'm going to go check that out after this. Myriad Media Musings. Thank you. Laughed at your red shirt pre-show tweet, but the best thing was that post-show, you were technically still correct because all of them wore gold, and every Trek fan knows gold has just as much bad luck. I did not know that. The red shirt thing is about as deep as I know into Star Trek. That the red shirts always died. I think that was mostly an original series thing, which I've never seen. I was kind of a next generation Deep Space Nine kid because my dad was into them when I was growing up. So, and even them, I didn't see them. One of these days I'll sit down and watch just like all of Star Trek. Oh, Elliot Finn, I like this one. Do Sith masks prevent Jedi from reading their thoughts? I think it's possible that it could, and not in like a Magneto way where it's keeping Charles out of his head. I think it's more that not having that face-to-face interaction, I would imagine that could hinder a Jedi reading thoughts. Just because my interpretation of the Force, it's very much about visualization. You know, if you can believe that you can lift the X-Wing out of the swamp, then you can lift the X-Wing out of the swamp. So, you know, visualizing someone's face, seeing their emotions, I think it would be easier to read them. So in my mind, the mask is like a protective layer, but there's nothing special about it otherwise. Unless maybe Cortosis is a special like telepathy blocking material. Maybe we'll learn that. Hey, Gio Flores, thanks for the super chat. I am not okay. This episode was amazing. The series is getting better and better. The fight choreography was top tier. RIP to some of our faves. It is sad, but I agree. I think every single episode I have liked more and more. The first two, I was like, okay, I'm into this mystery, and then 3 was just like so weird, but for me, in a very good way. And then 4 had that amazing ending, if not frustrating cliffhanger. But yeah, this one was just all gas, no brakes. Beskar gay.
All gas, no brakes. That was my name in college.
It was. Beskar gay says, Star Wars gays are in mourning. Hashtag Yord Horde.
No,
I mean,
it's true.
Straights like Horde. Yord. Straights like Yord too. I'm in mourning.
Yeah, it's not just the gays.
But you're right. During Pride Month?
During
Come on.
Pride Month, can you believe it? Megan Wilson, I told my mom my favorite new Star Wars character died. She immediately said, could they have her come back like Darth Man? LOL.
Adorable.
I hope she did say Darth Man, and that's not a typo.
I think that's accurate. That sounds like something my mom would say.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? They did know Darth Maul's name when we were talking to them about the show a couple weeks ago.
And then they saw the Zabrak
Yeah, that's why they brought him up.
member, and they were like, she's definitely evil.
Look at her. Looks just
Look
like
at her.
the devil.
She's got horns.
That's the devil. Queersland Australia says Sith being utterly abhorrent and in bad faith was still largely correct. Sith being utterly abhorrent and in bad faith was still largely correct in what he said. Soul wears a mask. Soul did take a child to arrest a killer, etc.
Okay.
So there's something I like about the Sith is that they will lie, but I think whenever they can, they would prefer to misrepresent the truth. And I mean, that's not even Soul wearing a mask is not a misrepresentation. Like they make a lot of, I think Joseph Scrimshaw said this in one of the Force Center podcasts, and I liked it a lot. They make a lot of false equivalencies. Kind of like, you know, you wear a mask, you're just like me. You're just as terrible as I am. And it's like, it's not true. Like Qimir would not have hesitated to kill Soul unless he could use him. But Soul is the other way around. And even though killing Qimir could have helped him and could have helped him keep that mask on, he didn't do it. So, yeah, a lot of what Qimir said is true, but it doesn't mean that, you know, he's morally in the right.
Right. Yeah, the Sith are all talk. They're just trying to convince people to join them all the time. It's like talking to our friends about Warhammer.
Don't say that.
You'd
while
love
Ryan's
it.
here. Don't say that while Ryan's here. Gio also asked if Qimir is part of the Ren line. Molly already went off on that. So.
We all know my thoughts on the Knights of Ren now. I'm sorry. Please stay. We need your help. Jake, thanks for the next super chat. I noticed the great storytelling detail. Yord saves someone else whose lightsaber was just deactivated by cortosis, and it sets up Yord knowing to use the helmet to deactivate Chimir's blade. R.I.P. Yord.
That was one of my favorite shots, is that Yord with his yellow lightsaber standing up against the Sith. Like,
he's a quick learner. And who knows, maybe Yord knew about cortosis because he is a big nerd and a rule follower, and he was like, I know exactly what that is.
Could be.
And I can use it to my advantage.
He's like, it's cortosis, everyone. They're like, what? Cortosis. It's cortosis. Look. And they're like, all right, shut up.
Take Osha to the ship.
Rick Villanueva says, I'm worried about Basil now that he's on to May. I feel like in Basil's mind, he was just running around that whole time like, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, I shouldn't be here. Oh my god, like what have they gotten me into? Poor Basil.
Basil has blown the whistle on May once before
Yeah, that's true.
when she tripped in front of him, and he's
Oh,
going to do
that's
it again.
true. And like he got a good whiff. Like I think he sniffs her.
Yeah. He's got
So
his little
that-
goggles on.
I didn't even think about this. So like he does know what May smells like.
Mm-hmm.
I
He's
figured
like-
he would just know that doesn't smell like OSHA.
Yeah.
But come on, Basil. You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
He's the key to all of this.
Yeah.
MC Maestro, glad to hear the come drink with me mention. I liked the French fencing and Hungar style hand-to-hand and butterfly swords of the Sith Lord.
Oh, I like a butterfly sword's a good. I didn't know that that's what they're called, but it is kind of like we watched that little clip from Come Drink with Me,
Mm-hmm.
and
The two
that character was
swords.
using two little swords.
So his
Yeah,
fighting style was called something
Taraka.
Taraka, which was on the StarWars.com page about the episode, and that lightsaber fighting style is all about like
excuse me.
turning the blade on and off during combat, which I thought was cool.
I
That actually came from one of the RPG books, which totally makes sense because Leslie was a big RPG nerd growing up.
That's one of those details that I'm like, I know I've heard about that fighting style before. Couldn't have told you its name, but I did write it down, and it's Tricata.
Yeah.
Caden from Alberta says, who's going to be in the cast if there's a season 2? You know, I hadn't thought of it like For All Mankind, where you age up some of the characters. I think it's possible Vernestra could be like the Ed in that show, because she can just keep on aging, just like Ed does. Apparently, Ed will never die. But we'll see.
Never say never.
But I think that it could mostly be a new cast. Vernestra could be like the mainstay that is still part of the Jedi Order. But for the most part, it seems like they would just jump ahead a handful of years, get a new cast of Jedi, maybe even new Sith.
I think there is a chance to bring Yoda into the story at some point.
Leslie has talked about having ideas for other High Republic characters to come in.
Yeah, early on, while watching the show, we talked about, because that was back when everybody was like, is Yoda going to be in it? And we were like, maybe not in the first season, but if it gets renewed for a second one, it would be cool to eventually bring Yoda into the mix and show why he knows about the Rule of Two or something like that. Lord Hosk, the trees fell wrong, sliced this way and fell that way. That's just an old Sith trick.
You don't know how gravity works on that planet. It's all messed up. Kofar's weird.
Everything's like tilted.
If they were like already leaning that way, even if they were sliced that way, I don't know. I'm not a lumberjack. I'm not an expert here. I shouldn't talk. Don't know nothing about trees. Darth Stack says, I really like the Qimir arc, as opposed to the typical Sith galactic dominance narrative, more unhinged and Joker-like as an agent of chaos who just wants to watch the world or galaxy burn. Yeah, I agree. He's like a refreshing, just different take on the Sith. It's cool being 100 years away from Palpatine, like starting his final plan.
Yeah.
And instead it's like, I don't know, I'm kind of a smaller time Sith, still in hiding.
I like what you mentioned earlier, that right now Qimir is the kind of Sith who is kind of obsessing over just taking down the morality of the Jedi and taking down the idea of them being the ultimate like good side representation of a force wielder. But then over time, the Sith learn, nah, we got to go bigger. Like we have to take this on in a very different way. And then, that leads to Palpatine convincing everyone that no, the Jedi are the bad guys.
Yeah. I think it could be an intentional thing of like, we have this idea, and so we're going to try it just on this one Jedi, see what happens.
Yeah.
Calm Like a Bomb says, was that its name? Maybe the most evil line in all of Star Wars. Jecki deserved better, but I'm loving Qimir. Yeah, he's hard to root against, even though everything he says is... Not everything. Some of what he says is terrible. Some of it is very fun to listen to.
Yeah. Was that its name? Ugh.
You son of a bitch.
How dare you?
Hold me.
I hope Jecki haunts him forever.
It goes back and forth from, what was that? I think you said it was a tweet or something where it's like, I hate you. Show me your arms. Don't look at me.
Don't look at
Flex.
me. Wait,
Flex for me.
pick me up. No, stop it. Yeah. I have mixed feelings about... Well, I guess I don't. I'm fully on board with him.
You
I
love
want
the
him
baddies.
I want him on my TV screen every day now. Please never leave. Don't kill him.
Yeah, you love bad guys.
Francisco Gios, both the Coven Witches and Sith Qimir are asking the Jedi Order permission to exist. That tells me the Jedi are too controlling. Well, it's like Qimir is asking for permission to exist and use his power the way he wants to, but the way he wants to use his power is like malicious.
Right.
So it's like, well, you got to have someone to keep people like him in check.
There is a difference between the Sith and the witches. But I do agree that the Jedi, at least for what we know so far about the witches, I think the Jedi were being too controlling. And it seems like an overreaction to what happened in the Sith Wars, where, okay, all these Sith tried to rule the galaxy and spread pain and suffering and hate and fear and anger, and it was no good. No one liked it.
Back to the drawing board, Sith.
So they thought they ended the Sith Wars and the Sith were extinct. And then it does seem like Republic laws started to clamp down on what you could and couldn't do with the Force, and upheld the Jedi as, like, heroes of the Republic. So then when you get witches who wear dark robes and they're chanting and they're doing things that are kind of spooky,
you want to join them.
I know you do. And most people, I think we look at it in the show and I'm like, they're not doing anything Sithy.
Yeah. Well,
they're just doing their own thing.
The audience hasn't been shown that they're doing anything wrong,
right,
or malicious.
So
yes,
maybe that'll happen and I'll change my mind. But right now I'm like, yeah, the Jedi went too far in the opposite direction. Yes, we need to stop the Sith, but that doesn't mean like anyone who puts on a dark robe and uses the Force is now evil.
Right.
So I do think that they are too controlling. They're out of balance, but the Sith do not deserve to get to use their power however they want.
Yeah, it's a very timely thing, I feel like, if you think about it.
Yeah. So someone on our comment said something great, like, the Sith don't want to, I think this was a line from something, the Sith don't want to remove the boot of oppression from the galaxy. They want to be the biggest boot. And I was like, yes, I like that.
Yeah. So it's how a lot of our politicians think,
right,
and it's scary.
Right. Are you up? I can't remember.
Dave McHugh says maybe Qimir wants freedom from his Sith master. Definitely a possibility. Like, we've been theorizing that he's probably the apprentice to a master, and maybe he just is like, I want to be the master. I'll find my acolyte, and once they've proven themselves, we can take them out.
I think all Sith apprentices want freedom from their master. They use their masters for as long as they can. They learn from them, and then they kill them. Like, that is the rule of two. But the entire time, it's not like they're friends. The master kind of resents that they need help. The apprentice resents that someone is above them telling them what to do. So
Yeah.
they're always at each other's throats and like kind of cooperating. But
Do you think ever in the history of the Sith there was ever two of them, like a master and apprentice, that realized one day that they were best buds and they were getting along, and they're like, ah, crap. Does this
I
mean
hope
we're not
so.
Sith anymore? We gotta be mean.
Yeah, I hope some Sith became best bros.
Because that's such a lonely life.
I think
Eventually, you have
Plagueis,
to have some of them start to get along.
in the Plagueis novel, it's been a while since I've read it, but Plagueis had it in his head that he would achieve immortality. Palpatine would be the public face of the Republic and the Empire and everything they did, but he would always be the one pulling the strings. So I think Plagueis kind of had a friendship of sorts with Palpatine, and Palpatine was playing him the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Like he got Plagueis to a point where he was comfortable enough to sleep around him, and then he was like, "Boop, I'll kill you. Gotcha."
Dang.
MC Maestro says, this didn't fit in my last super chat, but Hungar is a strong style, while fencing is fast. Follows Darth Bane's instructions. Vern is the master, by the way.
Oh no.
I hope not.
Maybe not. Cassia Pipe, thanks for the next one. Qimir died, quote unquote, in this episode. Soul can say a guy calling himself Sith showed up and died. Sith or not, the Sith are still extinct in the Jedi's eyes.
I think there's a chance for that. I don't know. I certainly didn't think that Qimir was definitely dead when the Umbra Moths pulled him away.
Nah.
So, but maybe Soul does think that.
I don't think Soul is going to go back and say, well, we took care of that. That would...
I feel like...
He has to know that that's not true.
Then again, I mean, Soul's done it before, been like, no one could have survived that fall. No one could have survived all those Umbra Moths. Like,
I saw him die. Lies.
Yeah, no, you didn't. That'll be interesting. Maybe he'll say that right at the beginning of the next episode.
I don't think he's going to double down on that mistake after all this, but maybe.
Well, we'll see. Matthew Byron says, wow, who knew the Sith could be so attractive?
I knew.
Have you seen Palpatine? Come on.
Come on.
Come on.
Those puffy sleeves.
Man's got swag.
Tactic Tall. My jaw was on the floor this entire episode. My fiance and I were off the edge of our seats. The only thought I had after the episode was, what did Alex and Molly think? Yeah, we were in couch bed, so we couldn't really be off the edge of our seats. But I felt like, I know I'm watching a very tense show and I'm like really into it when my hands stay like up here. And I'm just like...
I know it was a great episode when I watch our own reaction.
When you have a reaction.
Yeah, when I'm like, I really want to see how I reacted to that. Because yeah, most of the time I'm just like sitting there watching and I'll be like, ooh, neat, ooh, fun. But
Alex heard me editing our reaction this morning, and there were parts where he could hear himself on my speakers going like, ugh. It was
that Jecki death got me. Also, I went around and I watched like Heroes Reforged and Nerdy Night. Like some of our friends who do reactions, I'm like, I want to see them react to it.
Yeah.
I don't really watch reaction content, but if there's an episode that really got one out of me, then I go search around a little bit.
Yeah.
Joel Thompson says, Mando Pool Guy here. Shout out to my favorite Star Wars peeps.
Oh, and then later they said, meant to say shout out.
Oh, I didn't even realize it was a mistake. I read it normally.
Thanks, Joel.
And Johnny Otto, thanks for joining the 603rd.
The third AVB what are the odds that Sol might have been Chimir's master, or he is secretly the Sith master? I don't think Sol is secretly the Sith master. He would have made that clear by now if that were the case. And also Qimir would be like, what are you doing here?
Well, maybe Chimir's never seen his master's face.
Sure. He's like, this isn't my mask. This is my mask. And he takes out a different, even crazier looking mask. And we did kind of talk about Qimir. Wait, do they mean Qimir being
Sol might have been
Padawan?
Chimir's, like, yeah.
Yeah, we did kind of talk about that.
Yeah, I don't see Sol being the Sith, just because like this story is hinging around a good person who did a bad thing. And if it turns out that he's like, I actually didn't care about that terrible thing all those years ago, I'm like, that takes away some of the feeling that is driving this show.
Yeah.
So I'm all in on Sol being a good man who done bad.
Also, we kind of talked about not tonight, but a few days ago, we talked about how like we didn't super love the idea of the Sith being in the Jedi Order, being that close to the Jedi.
Yeah, that's another reason I'm like, I'm not wild about Vernestra, that theory, which again, I don't really think is going to happen. It's just, it's dug in there. But yeah, like we already had Palpatine so close to the Jedi Order and they didn't notice him for years and years and years, over a decade. So if Vernestra were, if a Sith is sneaking around in the Jedi, I'm like, that's a little much.
Yeah.
Speaking of, Draco Eris says, don't get attached. If Vern sees the Sith, who's to say she survives long enough to make a cover-up? True. Everyone who runs into Qimir so far winds up stabbed several times, except for Sol.
I don't see them killing Vern. Again, just because her story is still active in the books, I feel like that would be a big no-no.
Yeah, I'm with you there. It's like I don't want to know significant details about Vernestra's life after the books until once the books are done.
Yeah.
So next year, Phase 3 will have ended. The High Republic books will be over as they were originally charted out. Then in Season 2 of The Acolyte, if you want to do something crazy with Vernestra, then I would be more receptive to it. But yeah, I don't want book spoilers in my TV show.
Yeah.
But I'm also like a small part of the audience that reads those books, and most people, it won't affect them.
I feel like that's something Story Group would be like, ooh, do we want to do that?
I hope so, just because, yeah, like the High Republic fandom is very passionate, and they've been all in on this era. And I don't want that to be some looming shadow over the end of Phase 3.
Yeah. Andy Hodges, why the Star Wars hurts so bad? Why did the Star Wars do this? What did I do to make Leslie Headland want to make me cry? And during Pride Month. We're going through it tonight, Andy, you and me.
Molly's been using, and during Pride Month, a lot today.
Today.
Or right, for the last 26 days, okay.
Alex is like, can you wash the dishes? And I'm like,
during Pride Month?
Are you joking?
I would never ask you to do the dishes.
Can you walk Hilo by yourself during Pride Month?
I did that this morning. I did do that. Home Run Productions says, note to self, don't die under the Jedi's watch. He just left all of the fallen Jedi's bodies. Also, how do you think Ki-Adi-Mundi would explain all the dead Jedi? Thank you. I had the same thought about, like, he even kind of looks at Jeki and then they trudge off. I don't think they're leaving Kofar. I think that they will probably go back and get all the Jedi.
You think so? I thought that they were just trying to get out of there.
I mean, I think
in case the Sith got down.
Yeah, I think that they are trying to get away from a dangerous situation, but I hope they don't just leave 6 Jedi bodies out in the forest. But, even if you do that for a little bit, Kofar seems like a dangerous place. So maybe they are. And I agree. That's sad.
Yeah.
How would Ki-Adi-Mundi explain all the dead Jedi? Okay, so let's assume that they see lightsaber wounds. I think that they would the Jedi collectively would say some rogue Force user.
No, he would say the moths have lightsabers.
What's the most wrong thing you could say? They all tripped and fell on their own lightsabers.
Oh
How
no.
did Jackie do it 3 times? Oh no.
The witches came and convinced them all to
Mm,
unalive themselves with their own lightsabers.
I do, but yeah, pick the most wrong option, and that's what Ki-Adi-Mundi would say.
Yeah. Mandalorian Jedi Adventure. If they did go back far enough into the books and went back to Light of the Jedi, who would you cast to play Elzar, Avar, and Stellan?
Oh man, I'm bad at fan casting.
I am
Although,
too.
oh crap! Like
Avar,
I've seen. Go ahead.
I've seen people fan cast for Avar. Oh gosh, I can't remember her name now. Was she in Doctor Who?
Jodie Whittaker.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen that fan
Sure.
casting a lot. Gabriel Luna said he wants to play Elzar, so I'll just say him because I love that someone
Oh,
who
yeah.
reads. Yeah,
Diego
I-
Luna's
no,
brother?
no,
Oh.
they're unrelated as far as I know.
Oh, I thought they were brothers.
Gabriel Luna plays Tommy in The Last of Us.
Oh gosh, I can't. It's been so long
Yeah, it's
since
been
we
a
watched
year.
that. I don't remember.
It's Pedro Pascal's younger brother, Joel's younger brother. Anyway,
That's why
I would-
thought he was a brother.
just because Gabriel Luna reads the books and he's a big old fan, I'll say him for Elzar. Stellan, I know I've seen a really good fan casting for him, but I can't remember who it was for the life of me.
I
Big,
don't know.
strong, white beard man.
Does he have a white beard?
No, I mean like white skin, beard. Just beard.
Oh, I was like, what?
Not white beard, sorry. He's not Santa.
How old is he though?
Like our age. Maybe younger, actually.
Henry Cavill.
Yeah, all right.
I don't know.
He's had enough.
He has that enough, but
he's got Warhammer going on. He's done The Witcher.
Mhm.
He was Superman, but I guess he's just collecting franchises. So he was great in Mission Impossible.
I thought he ended up saying no to the Warhammer thing.
No, he's all in on that.
Okay.
If only there was someone here that could tell us. Either of our mods.
Well, until then, Lightspeed Bear, thanks for being a member of the 603rd for 22 months. Chills when Kylo's theme played. Also, Leslie Headland really likes wipe transitions, eh?
Yeah.
Pretty much every scene change has one. I didn't really notice it, I guess because it's been like that the whole show, but you said you did.
It really jumped out to me. I know that they've been a little much in the past 4 episodes, but really in this episode, I was like, okay, you're just using him to like go from right over here to right over here. Like usually the wipe transition is for, hey, we're going from one planet to another. We're going from storyline A to storyline B. And this was just like, you're kind of cutting between fights. It would be like wiping between Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and Maul fighting, and then wipe up to the space battle, and then wipe down to Padme and Panaka fighting their way through the palace. And it's like, we don't need to do this. There's no time passing. We know where everyone is. So yeah, I was like, the wipes were a little much for me.
Mm-hmm.
Jay Seed says, power of 1, power of 2, power of Manny. What a stud. I've seen a lot of that today and I like it.
I have too. That's perfect. Geo Flores, I don't think Qimir isn't a Sith. Ren/Sith. I don't think
Geo with the double negative making me think.
Qimir isn't.
That's
So
I think
thinks he
Qimir is a
is
Sith.
the Sith. It's getting late.
I think Qimir is a Sith.
Yeah.
Ren/Sith. I don't know what that. If Geo's still here, I'll keep an eye out for clarification. Cypher probably sent in a super sticker, but we can't see that on StreamYard, unfortunately.
Oh. Thank you anyways, Cypher.
Oh, Geo thinks both.
Oh.
Could be a Ren, but also a Sith. Like maybe
Sure.
they converged and then parted ways again down the line.
Yeah.
That he's got ties to both the Ren and the Sith. Gotcha. That, I mean, maybe. Like, I don't think we have any origins for the Knights of Ren yet. So it is possible that he could be a Sith that then becomes an offshoot thing.
Hmm.
Hilo's here.
Hilo's like, you guys. Andy Hodges, Chimir's line is similar to Jesus. And how do you say that?
Pontius Pilate.
Pontius Pilate. You say that I am with the whole world, you would call me a Sith. But yeah, he's totally a Sith.
I don't remember that part of Pontius Pilate's story. I think it's like, okay, I think it's Pontius Pilate kind of interrogating Jesus, and he says like, are you the Son of Man? And he says, are you the Son of God? And he says, if you say that I am, or something like that. I think it's been a while since Sunday school.
Never read the Bible.
Oh, here's a message from Cypher. Thank you. Qimir is almost emerged between Xana and Set Hearth, but without the essence transfer thing, assuming Qimir collects Sith artifacts. Yeah, Set Hearth, he was kind of one of Xana's potential acolytes in the last Darth Bane book, and he went around collecting artifacts, so there are some similarities there.
Yeah.
Is it my
I just
turn?
read one.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Sometimes we just look at each other. We're like, who talks first?
I'm
Hey,
just looking at
CC
Hilo.
Pruitt. He's just got his head on my arm.
Oh,
Sweet boy. CC Pruitt says, I like turtles. Thank you all for always staying positive and level-headed, and everyone in the 603rd. Great community. Thanks, CC Pruitt. Good to see you.
thanks, buddy.
We think of you every day we walk by. There's this little pond with a bunch of turtles in it.
Yeah, I like turtles too. Lynn Koyo, Yord Horde is gathering at the Yord morgue before going to the grave Yord. Sad face. That was a tongue twister.
I don't like either of those puns. Actually, I do like Graveyard's pretty funny.
Grave Yord.
That's good.
R.I.P.
Zeralin says, Leslie said in an interview she wanted to do something cool with the lightsabers aside from the whip. Do we think we've seen it in this episode or not yet? I think the little split apart lightsaber, like that was new. I think that'll be the thing.
Yeah, I agree.
But then if I'm wrong, then that just means we'll be excited to see something else. But right now, I think that's it.
Yeah. I wasn't really expecting anything crazy new. But yeah, I think that is what she was talking about. Hilo's just staring at you back
He's
there.
like, it's been 2 hours. It is snack time.
Oh,
Oh,
his
and he knows
head.
that word.
Myriad Media Musings, Red Shirts and Trek TOS?
The original series.
The original series were security, so that's why they were killed so much. When Trek The Next Generation started, security was changed to gold shirts, so there you go.
Okay. Gold shirts died in Next Generation.
Got it. Well, slowly learning some Trek lore.
Kathleen O'Leary, thank you for the next very generous super chat. I had the chance to meet Amanda 12 years ago before she debuted as Rue in Hunger Games at the Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 2 premiere. And it's so hard to see her play a bad person. She's so sweet.
Oh,
She seems very sweet
she's getting
in
to play
interviews and stuff.
2 different people in this, which is so fun. Fun for us and hopefully fun for them. Jason Gorney, is Chimir's lightsaber the new lights? Oh, did you read that one?
No, it's just the same question.
Oh, okay. Is Chimir's lightsaber the new lightsaber variant that Leslie mentioned in an earlier interview? Chimir's lightsaber design is really cool.
I think it is. I loved seeing that. I was like, oh, neat. Oh, God. And then he used it horribly.
That happened so quick.
I tweeted that gif of my shift from smiling at a new lightsaber design and then just complete horror.
Yeah.
Andy Hodges, thanks for another one. If we get an anthology of the Acolyte, what are the odds we finally get Matt Smith as a young Sheev like we almost had in Rise of Skywalker? He's killing it in House of the Dragon. I think that there's a chance.
That thing's about to fall behind you, that red box.
Hilo, careful. Good eye. I think there is a chance for that. I mean, well, first of all, that's all still rumors. As far as I know, Matt Smith came to set and potentially filmed some stuff, and everyone thinks it was for young Palpatine. Like when he sucked the dyad force out of Ben and Rey, it wouldn't have just given him new robes.
Mm-hmm.
It would have made him like young Palpatine. So I could see it happening just because Star Wars tends to hold on to concept art. It holds on to old castings like Genevieve O'Reilly, who did play Mon Mothma, but all of her scenes were deleted from Revenge of the Sith. And now here she is in Andor, destroying. Amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tin Man, that was indeed a Yord pun earlier, LOL. Also been sharing Yord Morgue and Grave Yord in places. What?
There's probably an emoji, but
that
little box, but I can't see.
Think Vernestra will battle Qimir Whip versus Shoto. I mean,
if we're seeing that whip, I want to see it in action.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a sad face emoji.
Okay. Gotcha.
But yeah, I hope we see the whip in a battle and not just about like, hello.
Hopefully she doesn't just use it to like cut down some branches
right.
and then puts it away.
Ice says, this episode was insane, absolutely fantastic. One of the most intense episodes of Star Wars TV. I'm still so tense from watching it. I haven't been able to relax. It was thrilling, but also heartbreaking.
Agreed. I had trouble going to sleep last night just because it was so exciting.
Ice also says, the cortosis shorting out the sabers was so cool. It all happened so quickly, and I was so drawn in I couldn't even stop to wonder how it was possible. The choreography throughout was insane. Some things felt a bit gimmicky, but still incredible. A lot of prequel energy in there. Loved every minute. I think that's what they were going for with the prequel energy.
Mm-hmm. I was feeling so smug seeing the initial reactions last night because of all the hate that the show has gotten. And, every week we're all kind of like, just give it some time. I think there's going to be some cool reveals, some fun stuff. And I don't know.
I've seen a lot of people saying that they have been like really critical of the show, but this one has started to turn them around on it. And like, yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I think some people are just like into the violence of it all, but
yeah, there's that. It's interesting when you take it like that, because that is a big thing that happens. And whenever a Sith shows up, it's a very big deal. But like, when you think about it, why is it a very big deal?
It's violent, but in my opinion, it's like a good educational violence. Like all of the action, all of the fighting had me thinking, and it was fun to analyze. And I went a lot deeper than I thought I was going to writing about it.
Yeah. This instance, I'm excited for the Sith to be involved because of just the questions that it's bringing up compared to the Jedi, and the way that Qimir is like coming about this in a slightly different way than we've seen other Sith. So anyways, yeah, educational violence. Mandalorian Jedi Adventure. If they did bring Yoda back in season 2, I would also want them to bring back Yariel Poof, but voiced by the person who read The Living Force.
That'd be fun. I mean, if Yarl Poof's in it, I only accept the robot chicken voice, but that's fine. Ryan says, has there ever been a sword? Yeah, has there ever been a sword made of cortosis? Seems like that would be deadly against Jedi. Yeah, there has been one. It was called the Knoll Blade, and it's in the Dr. Aphra comics. And I don't think I can... I downloaded a picture of it because I put it in my review, but I think it's one of those stupid... Yeah, it's a WebP file, so I can't put it on StreamYard. But yes.
I don't know if this is newly added to the cortosis canon, but the StarWars.com gallery that came out today said that it was kind of, maybe not brittle is the word, but that it wasn't as durable as Beskar.
Yes.
And like, I mean, Jucky was able to knock it in half with a couple of hits. So I don't think it's very durable, but useful.
Actually, I think I can do this. Yep. I have a picture of it. Just save it as a different file real fast. And this is what the Knoll Blade looks like.
Oh,
right
it looks
before
like wood.
It's metal, but it's also very old.
That is a cool shot. We need Dr. Aphra in live action.
I love her.
Scotty Heron, I heard Kylo Ren is shredded and has a pack, but do we think Qimir has a Sith pack? Good pun.
Let's get them in an arm wrestling competition.
Ooh, great idea. A++.
Oscar Tecolote, I hope I said that right, says, hey guys, I've been wondering, could Qimir be the apprentice to Tenebris or even Plagueis? I think that Qimir is probably before either of them. I kind of think that they jumped this far back in time straight up to avoid messing with some of those named Sith from Legends. Maybe they will get to them, but right now I think Qimir could wind up being Tenebris's master, or Tenebris's master down the line, or maybe if Osha becomes his apprentice, then she is Tenebris's master, something like that. I guess I'm not expecting to hear any familiar names at this point, but maybe we'll get to the end of the season and we'll see him kneeling down before Darth Plagueis. I don't know.
That would be interesting. Billionth Kevin has the next super chat. Osha's story always seemed like a trans or gay allegory to me. It's not about choice, but who you are. She's not a witch or a Jedi or a Sith. She can't accept death or violence and cherishes life.
I do like how much she cherishes life. And yeah, she is like a little bit of everything right now, which is interesting.
I like the non-binary of it all. There's definitely something to that.
She was born a witch, didn't want to be a witch, went to be a Jedi, didn't want to be a Jedi, seemed to find like some happiness as a mech-neck. But yeah, I don't know where her story is going to wind up.
And I kind of got that vibe from Qimir too, just because he was like, I can't deal with all these rules, like the Jedi and their rules, ugh. And like, if he is trying to take down his master, he could also represent that kind of non-binary, like I'm not one or the other, but I guess you could call me a Sith.
This is one of those shows that deals less in the just plain black and white. Darth Vader is clearly evil. Luke is clearly good. Where this is like, well, these Jedi have made mistakes. So this is all like, yeah, not dealing so much in the hard binary of things.
Yeah. Which is really fun to explore in Star Wars.
Ice says the Qimir reveal was no shock, but it felt earned. I was still on the fence a little, but they set him up so well. Manny absolutely killed it. I part of the reason I just want to watch Good Places to see more Manny.
Mm-hmm.
I've been defending and advocating for Soul since the start, but not anymore. There's something up with him, and I'm side-eyeing him so hard right now. Ice, you were getting on me for being too hard on Soul. And I'm over here now saying, like, you know what? He is a good dude. I always thought he was good, but I'm, like, feeling more empathy for him and sympathy, even though I'm like, I know you did something wrong.
I mean, we've always known that he's done something kind of terrible enough to cover it up and lie about it, right? But yeah, I think he's made some wavering steps along the way, but he is taking steps to eventually, I think, fix it.
Yeah. And I love that we're expanding the concept of split sabers. I've been a fan of the idea of one that isn't a double-bladed saber and splits down the middle of the hilt. So seeing exactly that was dope. We were talking, such a nerdy conversation. We were talking earlier about, like, where do you think the crystals are in each hilt? And, like, how do you think that operates?
Yeah, because I said, well, I asked you, is it 2 separate crystals then? Because I was thinking, like, if a lightsaber ignition is like fire, then the crystal could technically just be in the bottom, and then once you pull it out, the top is already ignited. So I don't know.
As long as there's something still kind of fueling it. I'm assuming it's 2 crystals, but I'm basing that off of, like, double-bladed lightsabers have 2 crystals.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. Like, yeah, if it's just something that you need the energy to start and it can sustain itself, maybe.
Oh, hey, Gearless Moda just gifted 20 memberships to chat.
Oh my god.
So that's awesome. We haven't had someone come in and gift memberships like that before.
Thanks, Gearless Moda.
Thank you. Look at all these new members. The 603rd is growing. Is it my turn to read?
Yeah.
I don't know what we were talking about before. Alphonse Calato, hey guys, this episode was nuts. I am officially shook after Jecki and Yord's death. Jecki was my fave, R.I.P. I know, I was really into Jecki, and her death makes her line from the last episode hit even harder, where she's talking to Osha and she says, I don't have a lot of experience with death.
The way you were saying that reminded me of Rob Lowe in Parks and Recreation, Chris Traeger, when he delivers the line, it makes what I'm about to say even sadder. Like,
yeah.
It was very tragic. And it was such a roller coaster because she was being such a badass, knocking his helmet off. Like, let's see your face. And
she gave him a run for his money for sure.
Yeah, like, their fight was so cool. Ice says, I had an idea that Qimir isn't one of the 2 active Sith at this point. Maybe he's like an elder in Vision Season 1, someone who is part of the Sith line, but then they broke away to do his own thing. That kind of lines up with his spiel about not having a name and kind of dancing around calling himself a Sith, because I found his wording interesting. Some have said that his master could show up to kick his butt, like Palpatine coming to Mandalore. But what if the master and his new apprentice who replaced Qimir come in to knock him down a peg or 2? I think they would probably straight up kill him if that were instead of knock him down a peg or 2. Having 3 characters who could be called Sith on screen would be totally new for live action Star Wars, and seeing the rule of 2 Sith operate in a new way. That feels very kind of end of Darth Bane trilogy, where Xana is kind of trying to gather a new apprentice. Bane kind of is in the market for a new apprentice, and they're all fighting together. So I'm not opposed to it, but I think right now, for like the more casual audience, it just makes more sense to keep things simple and be like, it's just the 2 Sith. but maybe down the line. It kind of reminds me of the latest Scream movie, when 3 ghost faces came out.
Mhm.
And I remember our friend Zach, who, like, I like the Scream movies, but he loves them. And he was like, that's the first time we've seen 3 ghost faces on screen at the same time. I was like, oh, cool.
This is
It
fun new lore.
it didn't cross my mind.
Yeah, that's a good point. A lot of the general audience probably don't know about the rule of 2 rule, so it could be kind of cool to see that play out on screen, but it could also be confusing.
Yeah.
The real code Black. I'm so convinced that May and Osha are going to switch places / perspectives after hearing the truth from opposite masters.
Totally agree.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance we see that happen.
I hadn't really considered May doing that until we were doing this live stream. I was all about like, oh, Osha's definitely going to go to the dark side. But honestly, I could see Soul like working with May, and maybe they meet in the middle and Soul can tell her like, here's what happened. Or I don't know what she does or doesn't know. We'll have to wait until the flashbacks, but Soul might be able to explain himself to May and she'll be like, oh, I didn't know.
That is true. I'm excited to see Osha use the Force. We've really only seen her use it a little bit in the flashback.
Yeah, and then like we know she's reconnecting with it. She couldn't use it in the first episode. She did feel the Umbra Moth in episode 4 and kind of awaken it, but I think we're definitely building back to her using the Force.
Or the thread, if you want to call it that.
Yeah. Mandalorian Jedi Adventure, says dark hair Chris Evans for Stellan. Hi, Hilo. Oh,
I think he finally laid down.
He is right next to my chair, just patiently waiting for his. Oh, I don't want to say that word.
Don't say the word. Oops. JDP was one of the sabers Jecki was using supposed to be Kelnaka's. Surely that thing should have been like a claymore to her. It was Kelnaka's saber, and I'm so glad that that's what it was, because I remember early on pictures started coming out from the show and from this episode, I guess, specifically of her holding the saber, and everybody was like, oh, why does the hilt look so giant? It's too thick, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, well, it's because it was a Wookiee's lightsaber.
I do think in general, some of the hilts have been a little chunkier because of the way that they do lightsabers, especially for TV. They do it.
And the ones they sell at the parks are pretty chonk. So.
Right. Those I get because they're for consumers, but they're a little smaller for on screen. But yeah, just like, this is so nitpicky, but going through and getting images, I just noticed more that like, yeah, this is an on-screen lightsaber that looks pretty good when it's still, but when you're taking screenshots, when they're in movement, it just doesn't look right like the movies do, which I know that's probably down to VFX budget and a TV budget and being like, we're going to do it quicker and in camera as best we can.
But yeah, when you go frame by frame, it's
right. You're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
But it's just like, it's one of those things where I'm like, it looks a little off, but that's nitpicky. And I can admit that.
We're allowed to do that every once in a while.
Charles from accounting says, I liked Jecki's death. She kept rushing to attack throughout the episode. I think it's such a small detail that I haven't seen many people talk about. Qimir surprised her with his Shoto because she ran at him without thinking. She did. I mean, she was full on charging him. I think she let her battle rage get the best of her.
Yeah. That was such a good fight, though.
Yeah.
She was really giving it to him.
Her fighting was my favorite of the bunch.
She has this like crazy battle cry at one point, and she's kind of like spinning around. I was like, yeah.
Seeing her dual wielding Anakin or Cal Kestis style, I loved that.
That was cool. Andrew Pilia, thank you for the very, very generous super chat. Some of Chimir's moves felt straight out of Survivor. could easily see Cal doing some of them, especially when he pulled the second Jedi onto his saber after he stabbed the first. Not to mention the saber that splits into new stance in Jedi 3.
I could see that being an achievement, a dark achievement, but see how many stormtroopers you can get on one lightsaber. Just but hey, like Cal is kind of dabbling in the dark side at the end of Survivor, so
Yeah.
maybe.
And it was so fun to play dark side stuff with Cal at the end. I was like, yes, I am never stopping this. Don't go away.
I just beat Ghost of Tsushima for the first time yesterday before the episode came on, and there's basically that same thing. You can embrace the dark side. They call it the ghost stance, and I'm like, oh, this is just the game on easy mode. Yay!
Yeah, it's for me. I was like, yes, yes, yes. I want this ability for the whole game. But I get that you're not supposed to do it. It's like a bad thing, whatever.
But hey, if you're fighting a Rancor and you need it, like, I'm not above it.
Right.
I says, after this episode, my sympathy I had any sympathy I had left for May is completely gone.
Oops, sorry.
She is on my done list now. I had my hopes up for her last week, but she's still blaming Osha for what happened. Well, she doesn't have the full story. I have some sympathy for May still.
Oh, for sure. Because we none of us have the full story yet, so
I still do not think she started the fire. I even doubt that, besides burning the book, I still think it's interesting that she started burning the book, we cut away, and then the doorway is on fire. Like, something happened in between that.
I just think it's interesting. Yeah. So definitely something else going on there. Jesus Fernandez.
Hold on, I want to close out with that one because it's good.
Oh, it's a good closer.
And Ice followed up with, she can't take accountability for her own actions. She also gave up on turning herself in real quick, didn't even try to get through to Jecki, who would have no idea she was planning on giving up. I mean, I think Jecki attacked her outright and then told her that she started that fire, and that set her off. But yeah, I think once her master showed up, she was like, I got to get out of here. Yeah. She was like, the Jedi are dead. I got to run.
Mm-hmm. All right. This one's going to be our last one because we got to go cook dinner. But thank you, Jesus Fernandez. Do you think the show has a clear ending? Because I'm not sure how they can close all the storylines in 3 episodes. Have they announced season 2? No season 2 announcement yet. Leslie has said she has ideas for a season 2, but that she's managed to kind of compile her whole idea for this story in 1 season. I think they can close all the storylines in 3 episodes, but that's just me. I'm pretty easy to please. I don't know.
I feel pretty confident. Like, I can see the path there. We know 1 episode is probably going to be another all flashback episode where we find the truth of the past. So the other 2, I can see it coming to a conclusion. And Leslie has said that, like, this season has an ending. It's not going to stop on a cliffhanger. So if they do a season 2, like, I think that they could very easily set it up as an anthology, or they'll just get new characters in the same time period, which I guess still feels kind of like an anthology. But yeah, I don't think we'll find out anything about season 2 either way for a couple months. I'm trying to remember how long it took Ahsoka to get its announcement, but it was a little while.
We all knew Ahsoka was going to get more than 1 season.
We were hoping. I wasn't sure. I was kind of worried just because it all ended on a cliffhanger. I was like,
that's Filoni's baby.
Yeah, no, but I was like, the fact that they didn't announce it right away, I was like, could we please get some confirmation?
That would be a crazy cliffhanger for them to be like, you know what, that's enough.
I'm just like, the way streaming is these days, I don't want to assume. And Brian Mary, thank you, said, my first time super chatting, usually sleeping because in the UK, Love, love, love the Acolyte. Whooped and shrieked throughout. Had to stop and make tea when Jackie died. Great, great stuff.
Aw.
A little bit of sadness tea.
Needed
Oh,
to
I'm sorry,
have
Brian.
some tea. Yeah, I think we could all use a cup of tea after that.
I could use a cup of tea right now.
I could use
Wind
dinner.
down. Yeah, we are gonna go cook dinner. Let me check and see. Yes, Resistance broadcast is still going, and I have it set up to redirect everyone over there. So if you want to keep talking about the Acolyte, go hang out with the Resistance broadcast and Acolyte. They're streaming right now. So
Oh yeah, go tell Hoey that we love his trademark name, Sith Kebab.
Yeah.
Sith Kebab for the lightsaber multiple stab.
Tell him to eat a banana, because I think he has bananas for whenever he says something crazy.
Oh, okay.
But
Cool.
everyone have a great night. We'll see you next week for more Acolyte talk. We are not going to do a Lego stream tomorrow because it's our friend's birthday and we're going to go celebrate with him. So we'll be back next Wednesday with Friends of the Force on the show. But everyone have a wonderful night, and may the Force be with you.